Humanity, in its relentless advance, had completely reshaped the world, but on that day, a lone figure found something horrifying in the ruins. A monstrous entity born from humanity's own progress emerged from the shadows. Its gaze alone shattered reality, a power beyond comprehension. This new world had a different name for humanity. Prey, a survivor, masked and wary, watched the nightmare unfold. Decades earlier in 2045, humanity had achieved miracles with AI and organs, but this technology only served the privileged while war ravaged the rest. Hey guys, subscribe and give me feedback if you enjoy my manhwa recaps. Thank you. We are continuing. The surface became uninhabitable, forcing humanity to build underground cities. These became the ideal city project ruled by scientific elites. More cities were built, but the last one's construction triggered a disaster. A new, vibrant parasitic flower species was discovered in the thawing ice. The plant Sinis flows spread across the globe with terrifying speed. Its pollen transformed humans into mindless monsters called Dullahan. However, a rare mutation allowed some to keep their minds after infection. These flower people could harness the powers of other plants. A desperate hope emerged. Use the flower people to fight the Dullahan, but the Dullahan kept multiplying, leaving humanity with no escape. Survivors were forced to hide in the unfinished underground cities. Decades later, the overgrown ruins held the last remnants of the old world. Danby drives through snowy roads complaining about Edge City's isolation. Danby questions the route, but Yippee insists they keep going straight. They have definitely been circling the same spot for way too long. Yippee holds up the map asking if Danby even trusts her. Danby admits he is directionally challenged and reluctantly follows her lead. Yippee points at a strange mark on the map, confused. The truck suddenly swerves. Someone grabs the handle in panic. Neither of them actually knows what they are transporting in that truck. Yippee starts worrying this might be some kind of dangerous mission. Flashback shows them excitedly accepting what they thought was easy money. Yippee takes charge and spots their destination ahead in the distance. She leans out smugly, telling Danby she told him to trust her. Edge City finally appears, a massive tent glowing in the mountains. Two masked figures are shocked about an unexpected gift from Ideal City. Yippee shrugs innocently, claiming she definitely delivered the cargo correctly. The masked figures rush inside, yelling at Yippee to hurry up. One guard will inspect the cargo while the other reports to Captain. The guard opens the container, wondering what Ideal City sent them. He hopes it is something good, maybe alcohol or meat for dinner. Something massive and terrifying looms directly above the unsuspecting guard. A sharp gasp of pure shock as someone sees the impossible. A swirling vortex of energy tears open in the facility's ceiling. The red-haired leader of Edge City is identified with a start. Entrance to the surface is gone. The gatekeepers have fallen. A warning rings out. The Dullahan are coming and they must prepare. The leader's face hardens, a grim decision settling in his eyes. He orders emergency protocols, sealing the city from the surface. Alarms blare, ordering all personnel to evacuate to underground shelters. A crowd gathers, but someone urgently calls for a halt. A woman realizes with dread that she cannot find Garam. The man in the brown jacket reacts with stunned disbelief. Meanwhile, a hooded figure searches desperately through a dark forest. He sighs in frustration, another day, searching with no results. His thoughts turn worried. Where on earth has his brother gone? A close-up reveals a small, simple pendant hanging from his hoodie. His hand clenches tightly over the pendant, a gesture of resolve. His stomach growls loudly, reminding him he has been out too long. He decides to head back to the city before it is too late. Then he pauses mid-stride, his eyes catching something in the distance. He sees smoke billowing around the city and wonders what is happening. The lead fights off shadowy creatures while his team retreats. He lets out a battle cry, swinging his weapon with force. Next, he dashes past a large shadow monster, narrowly avoiding its attack. He celebrates catching another one, his teammate looking on. For a moment, he boasts about his flashy strike to his sister, who seems impressed. Charlotte, their leader, praises everyone's performance, despite their inexperience. Charlotte asks if everyone is safe and suggests cleaning up. The team confirms they are safe, but others took heavier damage. Lead notices a container logo, realizing it is from the Ideal City again. He angrily notes the Ideal City team looks down on them. Charlotte admits he is not entirely wrong about needing strength. A teammate points out they lack that necessary strength. The lead sighs, accepting there is no other choice. He declares he will personally stomp the Ideal City team. A massive shadow creature suddenly attacks, sending someone flying. The creature stands over a fallen team member as others flee. Charlotte and the teammates stare in shock at the scene. Charlotte identifies the monster as an S-rank Dullahan. She realizes it was drawn by their commotion during cleanup. Charlotte braces herself as the Dullahan's attack lands with explosive force. The S-rank Dullahan's attack lands, erupting in a blinding explosion of light and force. Torfi carries an injured comrade, shouting orders to rescue others and fall back. The monstrous shadow creature looms, its glowing eyes fixed on its prey. A teammate screams Charlotte's name, sprinting desperately through the chaotic battlefield. A boot skids hard against the ground, kicking up dust and debris. Charlotte is hurled through the air, crying out as she fights the creature's grip. With a fierce yell, she swings her fist, striking back at the shadowy mass. Her eyes widen with sheer determination, refusing to back down from the nightmare. A powerful shockwave blasts outward as her attack connects with devastating impact. Charlotte collapses onto the cold ground, groaning in pain from the brutal exchange. She thinks desperately needing to hold the line, but her body fails to respond. Blood sprays across the scene as the Dullahan's claws find their mark. Tears stream down Charlotte's face, a mix of pain, frustration, and exhaustion. A new, more horrific Dullahan form rises its silhouette, stark against a blood-red sky. From the creature's perspective, Charlotte appears small and vulnerable before its towering frame. The monster's face fills the view, its eyes blazing and mouth dripping with malice. Charlotte looks up, her expression shifting from despair to a spark of defiant resolve. In a flash, a white-haired figure slices through the creature, intervening at the last second. The Dullahan shatters into countless fragments, defeated by the sudden, precise strike. Newcomer stands before Charlotte, the dust settling as they lock eyes in the quiet aftermath. A girl outside breaks down in tears, completely overwhelmed. Garam appears alive. Everyone thought he was gone forever. He is locked in a cell, trapped by the city's rules. Garam desperately calls for Uncle Isaac through the bars. Isaac storms in furious, striking Garam for his recklessness. Isaac berates him for sneaking out and fighting a Dullahan. Isaac's anger masks genuine fear. He nearly lost Garam. Isaac realizes Garam was searching for his missing brother again. Despite his frustration, Isaac is relieved Garam survived. Isaac offers freedom but demands a promise in return. He warns that Yora will approach him with something dangerous. Isaac insists Garam must accept whatever Yora requests. Isaac reminds him of the promise and mentions prison food. They leave the cell together, heading toward their next move. Isaac brings Garam to meet Yora, the red-haired leader. Garam questions whether Isaac truly intends to release him. Yora begins interrogating Garam about the Dullahan incident. Yora reveals this is not Garam's first escape attempt. Yora presents evidence, a map from Garam's room showing escape routes. Yora explains unauthorized exits, risks spreading pollen. Severe punishment awaits. Garam stammers about brushing off the pollen defensively. The interrogation begins. They accuse him of illegal Dullahan contact. He admits it just happened, looking down guiltily. The red-haired leader watches with an unreadable expression. They list his violations: unauthorized exit, unlicensed power use. Garam's face falls as they threaten him with expulsion. They reveal Flower People awaken young, but he hid his abilities. The leader presses him. Why reveal his powers now? Garam hesitates, struggling to find the right words. A memory surfaces, young Garam bloodied and terrified. The flashback intensifies, carnage surrounds him on the ground. A dark-haired stranger grips his hands desperately. The stranger's expression burns with fierce determination. Bodies litter the ground as young Garam watches in horror. A shadow lunges at someone while Garam freezes. Back in the present, Garam's voice breaks. People were dying. The leader and his companion exchange a meaningful look. Leader leans forward, intrigued. He has a proposal. Garam's eyes widen at the unexpected turn of events. The offer: join their ranks and protect Edge City. Team leader questions the name Eternal Hymn with clear skepticism. He explains it is an elite Flower People group fighting for the community. The silver-haired recruit looks down, insisting he is really not that strong. He clasps his hands, begging to just live quietly and not cause trouble. The red-haired leader drops a bombshell. His brother Gown was found in Strange City. A flashback reveals Gown as a killer from a decade-old arson case. The leader confirms it is his brother, holding a pendant as proof. He notes Strange City's tight security, impossible for regular people to enter. The leader offers a deal: cooperate and they will drop the brother's past. They will also help him find Gown, showing a photo of the team. The recruit's eyes widen in shock, whispering brother. He desperately asks for confirmation that Gown is definitely in Strange City. His fists clench on the table, unsure how helpful he can be. He looks up, agreeing to the mission if they keep their promise. The team leader objects, dragging the recruit away to argue privately. He questions throwing an unproven kid into such danger. Suddenly he warns that even Flower People die if their heart is destroyed. The red-haired leader smirks, promising a thorough evaluation of his abilities. A hooded figure states they must go to Engineering City for parts. The leader assigns Charlotte and the recruit as bodyguards for the mission. Garam scratches his head, sheepishly admitting he is a little special. Charlotte introduces herself as the leader of Eternal Hymn Team 1. They shake hands, a formal start to their partnership. A sudden panicked shout of Charlotte shatters the moment. A dark, monstrous form lunges, catching someone off guard. Charlotte is thrown back, her body hitting the ground hard. Garam scrambles, desperately trying to dodge a shadowy attack. His face is a mask of pure, wide-eyed terror. The scene shifts. 3 hours earlier, on the road to Engineering City, red-haired leader urges the team not to stall. He reminds them to be careful and return safely. A teammate doubts if Engineering City will actually help them. The leader insists they will, recalling a past food crisis. Teammate dramatically recalls the grueling summer aid mission. The leader states he has already sent the exam details to Charlotte. He orders the team to guard the entrance while he is away. The red-haired leader watches the vehicle leave, whispering mother. Another red-haired figure, Mia, appears asking if he is out too. Mia confronts him, questioning the risky exam and ignored procedures. She reveals her refusal to acknowledge Gaon, their father's killer. The red-haired leader explains normal procedures would apply in normal times, but what Garam showed them was anything but normal. This attack is Strange City's declaration of war against them. They need real power to defend themselves, not just pride. A truck drives away as someone reflects on giving him a chance, even if it were Gaon, their family's sworn enemy. Garam freezes, gripping the walkie-talkie in utter disbelief. Isaac smiles calmly, clearly pleased with how things unfolded. Garam explodes, demanding answers about this sudden turn of events. The driver nervously asks Charlotte if this is really an exam. They are throwing him into real combat against Dullahan creatures. Isaac reveals the truth, testing Garam's mysterious plant abilities. Charlotte explains he must have hidden powers worth confirming. Garam stands outside, visibly shaken by what is coming. Someone apologizes for how this situation spiraled out of control. The driver tells Garam to just use his abilities and move. Garam desperately protests to his uncle about the danger. The driver promises to rush back if anything goes wrong. Garam drops a bombshell. He faints whenever using his abilities. Isaac reassures him they will manage the cleanup if he passes out. Someone shoves him forward, time to run. He screams for his uncle, watching the truck disappear. Panic sets in, he is completely alone now. Two shadow creatures corner him. Does he unleash his power? Isaac wrestles with guilt over abandoning the kid. They review the CCTV footage from the entrance. One strike destroyed an S-rank Dullahan. No abilities used. The blonde realizes he is deliberately concealing his true strength. Isaac processes just how dangerous this person actually is. Something clicks in Isaac's mind. The creatures close in on him in the snow. He stands motionless, battered and bleeding. The blonde urges rescue, but Isaac refuses. They will wait and watch what unfolds. Blood covers his face as he contemplates his hidden abilities. The creatures launch their assault. A devastating strike tears through the air. The impact creates a massive explosion. He is hurled backward into the rocks. Pain contorts his face as he endures the suffering. A massive shadow creature erupts from the ground, its tendrils reaching skyward. Garam sits bloodied on the ground, the shadow creature looming over him. Someone screams in agony, blood streaming down their face. An explosion of ice and snow erupts outside the vehicle. Dark shadowy figures clash violently in a brutal frenzy. Isaac questions why Garam is not using his powers despite their assurances. Isaac watches from the back seat as the driver continues forward. Someone steps out, noting flower people and Dullahan are not easily killed. The masked teammate growls that this situation is way too much. Isaac insists flower people feel pain. He has to rescue Garam now. Two figures trek through the frozen wasteland, one clutching a rifle. The masked teammate mutters this whole mission was nonsense from the start. Someone calls through the snowstorm announcing the exam is over. The masked teammate aims his shotgun, desperately demanding Garam answer him. Isaac stares downward at something hidden in the snow below. Something massive crashes through the snowy landscape with terrifying force. Isaac's expression shifts to confusion, sensing something terribly wrong. Garam grips a shadow creature by the neck, his eyes glowing white. Isaac's face twists in shock teeth, clenched at the horrifying sight. Someone screams Isaac's name as a dark shadow lunges toward them. The masked teammate shouts a frantic warning into the blizzard. Isaac shoves him aside as a massive shadow claw swings through. They both stare wide-eyed at the sheer power of the attack. A dark armored creature with a glowing core emerges, speaking of a rumor. The monstrous form fully reveals itself, a terrifying truth confirmed. Garam stands amidst the carnage, a scythe of shadow in his hand. Isaac screams his name, voice cracking with desperation and fear. Garam remains hunched over, unresponsive to the call. His eyes glow in eerie white tears of black liquid streaming down. Isaac realizes Garam's ability is the fundamental roots of all plants. He notes the immense power and the dangerous side effect of fainting. Isaac looks down at the transformed Garam, knowing this is bad. A caption explains the horrifying commonality between flower people and Dullahan. They are both hosts for the same parasitic otherworldly flowers. A close-up shows the intricate glowing veins around Garam's eye. Dark writhing tendrils erupt violently from the ground around him. The tendrils lash out, tearing through the snowy landscape. Isaac realizes he cannot overpower this version of Garam alone. He dodges another sweeping tendril, his mind racing for a solution. There he formulates a desperate plan. Cripple the body, then suppress the power. A flower person's power depends on their bond with their parasitic flower. Higher compatibility means better healing and stronger abilities like the Dullahan. The map shows Strange City's districts from the Pleasure City to Engineering City. Charlotte's special plant power is called Dandelion. He gathers and condenses pollen from the air around him. Then he can make it explode whenever he wants. Charlotte thinks with this kind of explosive power, his battle instincts were right on the money. But Charlotte completely missed one critical detail. His opponent was now something that defied all logic. Garam stands transformed a monstrous being beyond common sense. Charlotte stammers. What the hell, it recovered that fast? Those roots are sea energy to heal itself at an insane speed. This makes it impossible to fight. A massive dark root erupts from the ground with terrifying force. The root slams into Charlotte, sending him flying through the air. Garam lands heavily on the cracked pavement, ready to strike again. Charlotte desperately blocks a punch, the impact shaking his entire arm. They clash again in a brutal high-speed exchange of blows. Charlotte barely manages to block another devastating attack, his defense crumbling. Isaac curses, watching the dark form lunge toward them. The shadow creature's thoughts reveal his dire situation. Garam scrambles, desperately dodging a vicious strike. He is thrown back, crashing hard against a wall. Inside him, he stumbles to his feet, bloodied and disoriented. He braces himself, raising a hand as energy crackles. His eyes glow green, focusing his power. A blinding flash of light erupts from his palm. The shadow creature recoils from the sudden blast. A massive explosion of energy and smoke fills the area. Garam explains his ignition technique, hoping it was enough. The smoke begins to clear, revealing the creature's form. Creature stands, its tendrils writhing, seemingly unharmed. Its eyes glow with a terrifying focused intensity. Isaac's face freezes in pure shocked disbelief. The creature extends a hand, dark energy swirling. It unleashes a devastating wave of shadowy force. Garam watches horrified as the attack barrels toward him. A dark tendril slams into the ground near his feet. The creature teleports directly above him, ready to strike. Monstrous shadows attack connects, throwing the vehicle into chaos. A massive dark tendril smashes into the ground near the truck. Isaac is thrown from the vehicle, landing hard amidst the debris. He stares in disbelief at the colossal shadow creature looming over him. Isaac questions what kind of monster Garam has become. The transformed Garam, a being of pure shadow, turns its glowing eyes toward him. A massive shadow tendril slams down, narrowly missing Isaac. Garam's shadowy fist swings with devastating world-shaking force. Isaac is caught by a sharp crystalline spike of shadow. The spike impales him, lifting him off the ground with a sickening crunch. Isaac is flung aside, crashing into the rocky terrain. The towering shadow form of Garam stands over its fallen opponent. A brutal shadow wreath kick connects with Isaac's body. Isaac cries out in agony, his body breaking under the assault, a symbolic image of a heart cracking under immense pressure. The shadowy Garam unleashes a final, overwhelming blast of dark energy. Isaac's eyes widen in pure terror, realizing his imminent demise. A brilliant green beam of light suddenly cuts through the battlefield. The transformed Garam's glowing eyes narrow, sensing the new threat. Shadow Being raises a hand, gathering dark energy to counterattack. The blonde fighter's eyes widen, recognizing the incoming attack as an electric arrow. A dark tendril suddenly snaps, revealing a critical gap in the creature's defense. He lunges through the opening, his fist crackling with concentrated green energy. A blinding beam of light erupts from his strike, piercing straight through the shadowy form. A massive, violent explosion of light and force engulfs the entire battlefield. The fighter stumbles back, his green jacket torn, breathing heavily from the exertion. A close-up shows his face strained and sweating, a look of grim determination. He suddenly pauses, a thought striking him. How did Isaac manage to fight this thing? The ground beneath them violently cracks and erupts from a new, unseen impact. A teammate screams Isaac's name in panic as the dust cloud billows. Sharp crystalline spikes of shadow burst from the rubble with lethal speed. The massive cracked wall behind them begins to crumble and collapse entirely. A dark writhing root system violently erupts from the shattered earth. A shadowy hand dripping with dark energy reaches out from the chaos. The monstrous tree-like form of the creature fully regenerates before their eyes. A close-up on a gloved hand clenching tightly, veins bulging with strain. A young man's face is frozen in pure tearful terror at the sight. He shouts in despair, claiming he could not control it and just fainted again. A girl cries out, asking what happened to her uncle's injured leg. Another character crouches nearby, marveling at the creature's terrifying reaction. A blonde woman with sunglasses grins, holding a strange object. She wonders aloud if they should report their find to Strange City. Her dark-haired companion urges her to hurry, clearly in pain. The blonde decides to just leave a hint about something in Edge City. A monstrous white-furred creature with sharp teeth snarls in a corridor. A massive green energy blast tears through a wall, shocking everyone. Inside a vehicle, a blonde man and two others look utterly bewildered. A red-haired man bursts in, demanding to know what is happening. He approaches the group, asking to have a little talk. A silver-haired young man sits silently, looking downcast. The red-haired man sighs, reluctantly agreeing to something. Silver-haired man asks if his uncle's leg is okay. The uncle reveals his prosthetic leg, saying he is lucky it was only that. A flashback shows the uncle praising the young man's power against a Dullahan. The young man laments failing the test by not recognizing his allies. Another man in black reflects that he thought this was his only chance. A man in a beanie watches the dejected silver-haired youth. The beanie-wearing man smirks, trying to lighten the mood. He tells the kid to stop sulking and offers to reveal a secret. Then he begins a story about his past agility and a scouting mission gone wrong. A masked figure recounts being attacked by a Dullahan and losing a leg. He recalls feeling like the sky was collapsing as monsters overran the city. Next, he explains he tried to help the city afterward, though he often felt useless. He smiles, telling someone not to give up so easily. A tearful Garam looks up, confused as to why the man is crying. A blond man watches from a doorway, thinking, "Uncle." The red-haired man complains as Garam wipes his tears on his clothes. Two newcomers approach, with the red-haired one stating Garam made him wait. He tells Garam he has heard everything from Charlotte after their urgent discussions. For a moment, he announces Garam's punishment for unstable ability use is suspended. Therefore, Garam is excluded from the current mission. Garam looks down, addressing someone as Lady Yora, and calling his next words presumptuous. He admits his poor control harmed his uncle and Charlotte and disrupted the mission. Suddenly, he looks up with determination, stating he wants a chance to redeem himself. The red-haired man listens as Garam says if he fails to prove his worth again, Garam declares with wide-eyed resolve that he will take responsibility and leave the city. The scene shifts to a restaurant where people gossip that rumors have already spread. A man worries about their team's image if they accept the murderer's little brother. A girl defends Garam, saying he is not bad-natured and is really strong. Her brother accuses her of liking him, causing her to fluster as the red-haired man smirks nearby. The dark energy collides with the green beam in a blinding flash. Shockwave throws everyone back, clearing the smoke. A new figure stands between them, having blocked the attack. Garam's shadow form flickers its energy, finally draining away. He collapses, the monstrous transformation receding as he falls. Isaac struggles to his feet, staring at the newcomer in disbelief. The scene shifts to a tense classroom discussion. A student questions trusting the brother of a murderer. Another student slams the table, furious at the mention. A red-haired student warns him not to speak his father's name. The argument escalates into a physical confrontation. Red-haired student pins the other against the wall. He mocks the powerless student for daring to challenge him. The confrontation explodes into a full-blown fight. Onlookers react with shock as the brawl intensifies. The red-haired student stands over his defeated opponent. Suddenly, the lights in the entire facility go out in the darkness. Someone calls out for Charlotte. A group gathers, reporting a collapse and system failure. They receive new orders for a mission to Engineering City. The team arrives at Engineering City, but a fight immediately breaks out. A blonde fighter from Pleasure City, Banny, appears and attacks. The leader of Engineering City, Nabi, confronts the intruder. Banny dodges an attack coolly, telling her opponent to die. Banny effortlessly catches a thrown weapon with her bare hand. Green energy crackles around Banny's hand as she prepares to counter. A massive blast of green energy erupts, overwhelming the attacker. The energy blast slams into the opponent, shattering the ground. Bonnie scoffs, questioning how someone could use such a weapon. She mockingly asks why their little butterfly is with these people. A dark-haired ally steps forward, promising to teach them manners. Bonnie activates her ability, Luminous Tree, ready for discipline. The scene shifts to an aerial view of a red industrial facility. Charlotte and her team spot something unusual near the facility. They discover a motorcycle marked with the symbol of Pleasure City. Charlotte questions why Pleasure City's vehicle is here. She decides to investigate alone, telling the others to wait. Her teammate protests, reminding her of the rule to move in pairs. The young man excitedly volunteers to go with her instead. Remaining teammates are left stunned, paired up unwillingly. They arrive at a facility, one confused by the wide-open doors. His companion is amazed at how calm the other guy seems. He fumes internally about how quickly that guy surpassed them. A flashback shows their grueling training to become Nul Chongsa. He vows to uncover the secret behind that guy's rapid rise. They cautiously enter a building, questioning the unusually open access. There, they overhear two others complaining about being treated like lackeys. The pink-haired one rants about being forced into dirty jobs. Their companion sighs, saying they have to follow Team 1's orders. The dark-haired guy suddenly recognizes the two complainers. A flashback reveals these two were the punks who delivered something. Another memory shows them involved in a past incident at the edge. He realizes these are the bastards who attacked his city. Enraged, he charges forward, yelling he will teach them a lesson. The pink-haired one easily dodges and trips him mid-charge. He crashes hard into a wall with a sickening thud. The impact sends a cloud of dust and debris flying. Others stare in confusion at his unprovoked attack. He staggers up, still screaming insults at the two. The pink-haired one looks on, bewildered by his sudden fury. Blue-haired guy swings his weapon, shouting if they think he is a pushover. A pink-haired fighter warns someone to back off while they still can. The blue-haired attacker scoffs, surprised by the sudden politeness. Pink-haired one snaps, asking if the guy is begging to die. A brown-haired man steps in, his hand glowing with green energy. His palm crackles with intense, sharp green light, blocking the strike. The green energy deflects the attack with a violent screeching impact. A silver-haired kid is caught in crying out in pain. He stumbles back, checking on the blue-haired guy with concern. The pink-haired fighter demands to know why they are interfering. Brown-haired man notes it was a weak attack, yet the kid recovered instantly. The pink-haired one yells to move, wanting to erase the attackers. His partner calms him, warning that using his power would complicate cleanup. Suddenly, new voices shout from above, demanding to know what is happening. A blonde man and his group confront the duo, asking how they got in. The blonde man scolds his team for not staying put as instructed. A girl from his group recognizes the pink-haired fighter, pointing in shock. The pink-haired one tries to explain the blue-haired guy started the fight. Girl fires back, accusing them of attacking her city first. The pink-haired fighter smirks in confusion, wondering what they are even talking about. Man grips his companion's collar, desperately trying to calm them down. He explains they had legitimate business here, completely confused by the accusations. The green-jacketed man explodes, accusing them of delivering a Dullahan to the city. Brown-haired man blinks, genuinely bewildered by the word Dullahan. The pink-haired one insists they only dropped off a simple container that morning. Wait, the man suddenly remembers the job's weird details. Secrecy, easy work, huge payout. If he covers their face, the horrifying realization slowly dawning on them. No way. If he stammers, hands trembling at the impossible truth. The accusers reveal CCTV footage captured everything. There is no escaping responsibility now. We will not let this slide. The pair realizes they are completely screwed. Ify glances back nervously, asking the question hanging in the air. They immediately start bickering. Who could have predicted a simple delivery job meant this? The man's expression darkens as escape becomes the only viable option. Ify's eyes widen with sudden clarity. They need to run right now. They bolt, vanishing in a flash of purple energy behind them. The group watches stunned smoke swirling where the pair just stood. What are they plotting? Suspicion thickens as the dust settles. One member hesitates, mentioning Charlotte's name with visible concern. The team arrives at Engineering City. Eerily silent, not a soul in sight. Flashlights cut through darkness as they venture deeper, something feeling terribly wrong. Man, this place is dead silent for a city of engineers. Even their home city is noisier than this creepy facility. One teammate nervously asks if the Dullahan was delivered here too. Another dismisses the idea, but something catches his eye. He spots a strange bloody handprint on the wall. The team jumps, startled by the gruesome discovery. They follow the trail, finding a corridor drenched in blood. The group stares in horror at the massive bloodstains. They enter a chamber and see something hanging from the ceiling. It is a grotesque cocoon-like structure, dripping with red fluid. Looking up, they see dozens more, each containing a person. A blonde teammate arrives, asking what the hell happened. The scene cuts to the pink-haired duo driving away. A close-up shows a single pristine white shoe stepping down. The two explorers tremble, sensing a powerful presence behind them. They turn to see more hanging bodies, all drained. One teammate panics, asking if everyone is dead. The blonde leader notes this does not seem like Pleasure City's work. He theorizes the power scale points to someone from Strange City. His teammates react with shock at the mention of Strange City. A blonde man explains the Venus flytrap ability turns people into monstrous Dullahan. The gray-haired lead realizes the horrifying implication. They can control the monsters they create. Their flashlight reveals a nightmarish hallway lined with bloody, pulsating cocoons. The cocoons twitch violently, something inside struggling to break free. Team recoils in horror, shouting about the grotesque cocoon. A close-up shows a cocoon cracking open, a monstrous face visible within. The shell shatters completely, revealing a terrifying blood-soaked Dullahan. From the shadows, a horde of glowing-eyed Dullahan emerges, hungry for prey. The team screams, paralyzed by the sudden swarm of creatures. Lead connects the dots. The ability user did this, turning everyone into monsters. One member panics, urging the group to run from the overwhelming number of enemies. The girl grabs him desperately, arguing there might still be survivors to save. He fires back, reminding her they nearly died fighting just like this before. Inside him, he pleads with Charlotte to talk sense into the others, but she hesitates. The brown-haired man turns, stating they have no time to hesitate. He declares they must fight and rescue any surviving engineers, even if they die. The lead and the girl share a determined, silent look of resolve. Hands grip a weapon, tightly readying for the inevitable clash. The three stand together, facing the horde with grim determination. With a defiant yell, the team charges headfirst into the swarm of Dullahan. A blonde fighter in a green jacket dodges a massive shadowy attack with incredible speed. He braces himself as a dark, monstrous figure with glowing eyes lunges from the smoke. A blinding white slash cuts through the air, intercepting the creature's strike. The blonde fighter pants, realizing this endless fight is draining them all. He notes their team lacks special powers except for Tori and Bard, and Garam, who cannot even use his abilities properly in this place. A shadowy Dullahan regenerates, instantly making their efforts seem futile. The blonde fighter suddenly shouts for everyone to gather around him. Team regroups in the vast industrial chamber, surrounded by fallen creatures. A silver-haired teammate asks Charlotte what to do before they collapse. The blonde fighter revealed as the leader begins explaining a desperate plan. He asks Tori, who worked in the control room, if she can open doors. Tori confirms she can, but questions why as Bard is also summoned. The leader orders them to shut down the purification system and open ventilation ducts. Team is shocked, realizing this will flood the assembly with pollen. Tori worries about civilians, but the leader says only this zone's purifier will be off. He admits the facility will be damaged, but it is the only way to stop the Dullahan. A teammate suggests Garam could use his plant-based powers to help. The silver-haired member reveals Garam cannot use his abilities right now. As the leader yells to find the direct switch, Tori and Bard sprint into the darkness. One of them throws his hands up, completely lost in the confusing facility. Suddenly, dark shadows swarm from the walls, attacking the group. A teammate gasps in shock as the ambush begins. Another fighter shouts a warning, swinging his weapon to defend. He turns to Garam, asking if he is okay after the earlier fight. Garam insists he is fine, as long as he does not overuse his abilities. They push forward and discover what looks like the main engine room. The team's tech specialist steps up, but the complex controls overwhelm her. She considers a full shutdown, but they realize survivors could be trapped. One volunteer takes guard at the door while she works. She carefully follows a manual pressing buttons in sequence. A console suddenly flashes a bright red warning symbol. She realizes the system requires special approval to proceed. Then she asks her teammate if he sees an access card nearby. Without warning, a blade erupts through his chest from behind. Blood sprays across the control panel as he collapses. The specialist turns, her face frozen in pure horror. A mysterious girl with a giant hammer stands in the doorway. Before anyone can react, a red-haired attacker lunges at her. The strike sends her flying violently into the far wall. Silver-haired fighter checks on his injured comrade, who gasps about broken ribs. They spot new figures approaching, realizing these attackers are not Dullahan. A red-haired man and blue-haired woman charge in radiating menacing energy. The blue-haired woman's eyes glow strangely, prompting a horrified question about mind control. Giant shadowy hands wielding purple blades materialize, ready to strike the duo. The blue-haired woman attacks with a vicious energy-laced slash. She moves with terrifying speed, her eyes blank as she targets the silver-haired fighter. A massive purple energy beam erupts, narrowly missing him as he dodges. Her blade drips with dark energy, the sound of dripping filling the tense air. A teammate screams Garam's name as he collapses, clutching a grievous wound. Black, corrupted energy pulses from Garam's injury, spreading rapidly. The silver-haired fighter's face twists in agony as purple veins spread across his skin. He vomits a torrent of black inky substance onto the floor. Next, he collapses forward, completely overcome by the corrupting force. His teammate watches in despair, noting Garam's condition is rapidly deteriorating. The red-haired attacker looms over them, his power swelling ominously. Blonde leader looks on in pure terror, realizing what is about to happen. A massive dark energy blast hurtles toward the fallen Garam. The scene abruptly shifts to a quiet neon-lit bar where a man sighs in frustration. He slams his drink down, cursing the sneaky bastards who caused all this trouble. Yippee slams her drink down, furious about cleaning Engineering City's mess, only to get blamed for everything. Her companion asks about Regio, the creepy glowing-haired guy from Ideal Assembly, who gave them that suspicious job. Flashback hits, Yippee desperately begging the slot machine for one more win at the arcade. Cherries line up instead of sevens. Her hand trembles as reality crashes down. She hoists the entire machine overhead, screaming about being scammed by rigged odds. A blonde stranger casually warns that model's irreplaceable and expensive. Can she even afford it? He grins, suggesting she could always pay with her body instead. Yippie's fist clenches. She denies any destructive intent while he introduces himself as the arcade manager. Regio studies her desperate appearance and notes she clearly needs money badly. He slides over a tablet, offering a high-paying short-term gig with zero hesitation. Back at the bar, Yippie chugs her drink. Penniless people cannot afford to refuse opportunities. She mutters about finally escaping their miserable lifestyle, never guessing how wrong things would go. Regio materializes behind her, asking if she disliked the job he personally recommended. Yippie nearly chokes. When did he even appear? He admits he heard everything since the cursing started. He questions why she is drinking cheap stuff when he specifically requested extra compensation for them. Yippie snaps back they could not stomach using that filthy money after what happened at Engineering City. She accuses him and some fox-like bitch named Bonnie of deliberately setting them up for terrorism. A blonde woman with green glasses chuckles, saying she does not think she fits the fox type. Yippie and her companion freeze. These two were sitting here the entire time? The blonde woman offers to clear the misunderstanding over drinks, promising Yippie's favorite. Yippie casually invites the pair to sit, mocking the man's appearance. Rochi demands an explanation, but Yippie points out the blood on their clothes. Yippie notices her own bloodstain, dismissing it with fake disgust. Rochi shouts, accusing Yippie of avoiding the real issue. Rochi warns Yippee not to use them for dirty work again. Yippee coldly asks if Rochi has finished their outburst. Yippee questions if Rochi ever considers the cost of their luxuries. Rochi listens as Yippee explains their privilege comes from others' suffering. Yippee grabs Rochi's face, calling out their hypocrisy. A close-up shows Yippie's firm grip on Rochi's cheek. Yippee justifies her actions with a brutal survival of the fittest philosophy. Rochi struggles against Yippie's hold sweat beating on their face. Rochi breaks free, standing up in anger as the man watches. Rochi mutters a curse visibly shaken by the confrontation. Rochi storms away, leaving Yippee and the man behind. The man follows, calling out to Yippee in confusion. A colorful character appears, chiding Yippee for scaring Rochi. He comforts the anxious Rochi, telling them to calm down. For a moment, he tells Yippee to stop sulking and resume their discussion. Yippee turns, asking about a mysterious silver-haired individual. A teammate screams Garam's name in alarm. The leader curses, realizing their desperate plan has failed. A blur of motion as something dark and fast attacks. Garam reaches out, his expression strained with effort. The red-haired fighter shouts that the vines have lost control. Blue-haired fighter swings her weapon, cutting through the onslaught. Thick, glowing vines wrap tightly around her leg, trapping her. The two fighters leap as massive vines erupt from the ground. Red-haired attacker is caught mid-air by the surging growth. Garam's own arm sprouts violent blue vines, his power Cocoon. A colossal pillar of blue energy and vines explodes upwards. The entire chamber shatters the floor, cracking under the force. Garam stands amidst the chaos, looking down at his hand. A blinding white explosion consumes the area in a final blast. The leader watches the devastation, his face grim. He is struck by a shockwave, grunting in pain. A close-up reveals his furious, determined green eyes. The scene shifts to an office discussing Garam's uncontrollable power. Red-haired man insists the ability is too valuable to abandon. The leader argues the power could kill him, but a solution is hinted. A hand trembles as a voice questions if that person from Engineering City is still alive. Garam kneels, surrounded by the dissipating blue vines from his uncontrolled outburst. The red-haired attacker lies defeated, tangled in the remnants of the energy vines. Smoke and dust fill the shattered chamber as a figure stands amidst the ruin. Garam looks up, spotting his blonde leader standing across the devastated floor. The leader clenches his fist, frustrated as Garam stares back in confusion. Leader smirked, slightly pondering his next move in this chaotic situation. A split panel shows the leader's sharp gaze and Garam's bewildered, shadowed face. Garam stumbles forward, calling out a name, his expression full of concern. From above, the leader shouts Garam's name, rushing toward him through the debris. They meet the leader, asking if Garam is okay, who replies he feels nauseous. The leader questions if Garam suddenly gained control over his destructive power. Garam looks away, unsure, explaining he did not use his power intentionally this time. He recalls usually losing consciousness, waking to find situations already settled. The leader admits he is also unsure what just happened during the explosion. He closes his eyes, smiling faintly, saying this outcome makes a certain sense. Meanwhile, Tori shouts for someone to excuse her, looking urgent and determined. A new sharp-eyed attacker with a polearm turns ready for a confrontation. A view of someone's legs and blood on the floor prompts a confused question. The polearm wielder clashes violently with Tori, who demands to know what is wrong. Ponytailed girl swings her weapon, desperately yelling for the chaos to stop. A dark, shadowy figure lunges, striking her with brutal force. She stands dazed, watching the pale-haired attacker stumble, confused. A close-up reveals the attacker's eyes glowing with an unnatural vacant light. The girl stares in shock as the attacker suddenly collapses, bleeding. She looks down, bewildered by the sudden end to the fight. Supporting an injured comrade, she frantically calls out for another teammate. Two other fighters arrive, asking if she is safe amidst the wreckage. She explains her teammate was ambushed and lost consciousness. The group checks on Garam, who is tearing apart strange cocoons. Ponytailed girl watches him work, sweat on her brow. Garam uses his vine-like ability, shredding the cocoon material. She thinks to herself, wishing she had a power like his. A close-up shows the torn, bloody cocoons on the ground. A red-haired figure notes the mutants are returning to normal. The group realizes the cocoons were the source of the corruption. They discuss the attacker from the higher city, needing more answers. The team surveys the devastated room, noting only 3 survivors. A flashback shows the mutants reverting after the cocoons were destroyed. The grim reality sets in. Most residents were found dead or undead. Team rides in silence, processing higher city's betrayal. Engineering City was just marked for reset, disposable in their eyes. The blonde leader confirms Bard was their only casualty. Red-haired man realizes this was never just a threat. The silver-haired fighter demands to know why they are being attacked. He turns to Yora, sensing she knows the truth. The red-haired man rubs his temples, dreading what comes next. He finally decides there's no point hiding the truth anymore. Suddenly, he reveals he once served as an administrator in higher city. Flashback shows parasitic flowers spreading cities overwhelmed by refugees. Higher city gathered experts to solve the parasite crisis. The red-haired man was among those elite researchers. Their initial research focused on resisting the parasitic flowers, but everything changed when they discovered the Wayne. The Wayne offered humanity's ultimate wish, immortality itself. From that moment, Sanity abandoned the project entirely. They began conducting horrific experiments on unwilling subjects. Children were trafficked as raw materials for their research. The red-haired man fled, sending allies to establish the End District. Now Pleasure City aligns with Higher City. War is inevitable. The red-haired man looks at the tied-up trio, noting their similar plight. He calls out to Garam, who responds with a hesitant yes. The man asks if Garam managed to control his ability this time. Garam admits he does not know how, but it just happened after the attack. He tried to suppress it, but before he knew it, the outcome was good. The red-haired man smirks, saying, as expected. Blue-haired captive, eyes closed, states his prediction was correct. The captives stir awake, groaning in confusion. Blue-haired one demands to know where they are and why they are tied. The red-haired man kneels, asking if Nabi is feeling better. Nabi looks up, piecing together that this place is. The man reveals they are in the Edge City, rescued from the Engineering City mission. Nabi's eyes widen, asking frantically about the others. The red-haired man looks down, a heavy silence hanging in the air. He reluctantly reveals that by the time they arrived, only the three were left. Nabi's face contorts in horror as the terrible truth sinks in. She collapses, sobbing that they took everyone, even the children. Garam looks on, sweating, horrified that innocent lives were taken needlessly. The red-haired man apologizes, comforting the weeping Nabi and urging her to talk. Head-bowed Nabi begins her story, mentioning the day Regio and Bonnie came. Nabi explains how the attackers started killing everyone who tried to stop them. She reveals they slaughtered families just for refusing loyalty, her voice shaking with trauma. A close-up shows her clenched fists, tears dripping onto the floor in silent fury. She turns to Yara, asking for help. With a desperate, determined look in her eyes, Nabi pleads, her face shadowed with grief, begging them to listen. The group stands in stunned silence as she makes her request for revenge. Nabi shouts, demanding justice for their families and the citizens of Engineering City. The red-haired leader smirks faintly, a calculated look in his eyes. He places a hand on her shoulder, stating he has a request for her as well. There he gestures toward Garam, asking Nabi to try attacking him with her ability. Garam looks utterly bewildered, asking what they are talking about. Nabi points at Garam in shock, questioning why she should use her power on him. Garam stammers, turning to Yara and asking why she is agreeing to this. Yara simply smirks, telling him to calm down and listen first. The leader grabs Garam's shoulder firmly, telling him it is not what he thinks. He explains that Garam usually loses control when using his power, but this time he was fine. Garam admits he was fine, looking confused by his own stability. The leader theorizes Nabi's downgrade ability lowered his compatibility rate, preventing the loss of control. Yora agrees, noting Nabi's attack was the only variable during the explosion. Nabi processes this, realizing her power might have accidentally helped him, and the revenge plan takes a new complicated turn. The red-haired leader confirms Nabi's story, but states they need to verify the details. Blonde leader questions Garam about a past Class 4 Dullahan fight, asking what is wrong with his power now. Garam explains his plant ability makes him lose control, especially after he once injured his own stomach. The ponytailed girl realizes this is why Garam avoided using his power, wondering if he is as weak as them. Girl apologizes for her blunt comment, leaving an awkward silence as Garam looks down. Nabi expresses unease about a plan, but the red-haired leader assures her it is fine as her ability is not for combat. The leader adds this is a good chance for Garam to test his own powers. Garam hesitantly asks if he can request one favor. Nabi and the red-haired leader turn, asking what his favor is. Garam says he does not mind being attacked, but hesitates, looking troubled. Nabi presses him, asking just what, with a tense expression. Garam bows and pleads, please go easy on me. He explains her attack feels weird, makes him nauseous, and seems to slow his recovery. Nabi flatly refuses his request, stating there is no such thing as holding back with abilities. She reveals her ability temporarily strips a Hwaine's powers, making them vulnerable. Nabi adds that even a strong Hwaine can die, though she is unsure if her attack will work on him. She announces she is attacking, shocking Garam and startling the others. A close-up shows Garam's terrified face as he realizes he could actually die. Nabi's attack lands a violent slash of purple energy, cutting across Garam's chest. Garam grunts in pain as dark, corrupted energy drips from the wound onto the floor. Nabi snaps at Garam to stop reading her mind, but he insists he is fine. Garam examines the dark marks on his arm, ready to test his ability. The group questions whether his root ability will cause the building to collapse. Garam exhales, nervously preparing himself for what comes next. Nabi and the red-haired man exchange worried glances. Dark vine energy pulses through Garam's clenched fist. Blue energy erupts from Garam's head as he shouts. A glowing blue plant materializes on his head. He is ecstatic. Nabi questions the commotion while the red-haired man confirms success. The red-haired man orders Garam to stick with Nabi from now on. He asks Nabi if she is willing to accompany Garam. Garam awkwardly introduces himself to the tied-up captives. Nabi eyes him suspiciously, unconvinced by his awkward introduction. The red-haired captive breaks free, furious and demanding answers. Red-haired man sighs, realizing he will have to explain everything again. Jinsu collapses in defeat, his coffee tree ability revealed. Dania coldly tells him tears will not bring back their dead friends. Jinsu breaks down crying while Dania stands coldly. Nabi watches silently. Nabi apologizes for not giving them time to process their grief. Jinsu asks if Nabi's okay sharing the pain of losing everyone overnight. Nabi tries to stay positive, wondering who would avenge their families if they died too. The team agrees to trust Yura and focus on fixing the purification device. Garam watches them leave, thinking they seem mature for their age. The red-haired man suddenly confronts Garam, startling him. He bows, deeply apologizing for having attacked Garam while controlled. The blonde leader intervenes, saying Garam actually saved them all. Nabi explains that Didi, the top engineer, has always had this talent. A young girl runs in, calling the leader sis before correcting herself. Bard makes a dramatic return, claiming a morning's sleep cured him completely. He cheerfully greets Yura, who notes he came back early from rest. Yura explains the entrance is being repaired, but a crucial part is missing. Nabi reveals they could make the part, but it requires a rare material, gold. The red-haired man laments that gold is incredibly hard to find. Bard reacts with shock, realizing the solution is that simple. If they have gold, he suddenly declares he knows a place where they can find some. Bard explains his grandfather, a collector, lives in a vagrant village on the surface. Nabi is stunned, asking in disbelief if villages exist on the contaminated surface. A view shows a shantytown built on a hillside, explained as a refuge for outcasts. Flashback shows Bard's old home, Westling Village, protected by its residents. Back in the present, Bard insists he saw gold there and can ask for some. The red-haired leader smirks, intrigued by Bard's mention of a collector grandfather. He orders Nabi and her team to follow Bard to the nestling village for gold. Back inside, the last temporary purification device sputters, its lights flickering ominously. The leader watches it, sweating and hoping nothing goes wrong this time. Scene shifts to a desolate, windswept shantytown on a hillside. The nestling village. Inside a building, an elderly man in a gas mask is alerted that raiders have attacked again. He storms out furious as a villager reports the Hwains are blocking the road. Masked raiders in purple jackets storm the village streets, shouting for everyone to get out. The raiders' leader, in a horned mask, scoffs at the villagers' futile resistance. 3 villagers in red cloaks stand defiantly, warning the raiders to leave or face no mercy. The raider leader recognizes one, asking if he is the great Mr. Hwain, responsible for hurting his men. He levels a massive cannon-like weapon, demanding they kneel or prepare for a funeral. The young villager in a beanie reacts with shocked anger at the demand. A close-up of the raider leader's mask, his single visible eye cold as he repeats the order to kneel. The scene abruptly cuts to a bustling, neon-lit city street at night. A pink-haired girl with cat ears happily eats a snack, telling a man she is buying him food to forget about Barney. The man, Appy, looks away with a weary ugh as she clings to him. A close-up of Eppy's face, his expression hardening as he thinks of someone named Appy. A flashback shows the pink-haired girl violently smashing a pool cue, screaming die. Eppy watches from behind as she destroys the pool table, recalling how her personality worsened after that night. The man mutters about refreshing himself at the market. Someone bumps into him, shouting to get out of the way. He apologizes automatically, then questions why he even did. A crowd gathers as a man promotes the Hua Yin gun. The specialized gun is shown said to paralyze abilities instantly. Pink-haired character and her companion look skeptical. She questions if such a weapon even makes sense. A new character, Sheen, suddenly appears, surprising the pink-haired one. Shin introduces herself as the promoter for the Hua Yin gun. She invites them to an upcoming demonstration to see for themselves. The pink-haired character is handed a promotional flyer. Flyer details the gun's demonstration in the ideal city. The scene shifts to a rural road, someone calling for their leader. Inside a vehicle, 2 characters hear a distant gunshot. One panics, wondering if it is marauders attacking again. His expression hardens with sudden grim determination. He declares he will go check it out on foot. His companion shouts in alarm as he leaps from the moving vehicle. Strange purple capsules litter the ground, an ominous sign. The Hua Yin gun is aimed at several figures frozen on the ground. Masked leader boasts his weapon could conquer an entire city. Bard sprints through the village, desperately calling for his grandfather. Bard recognizes those looters from before, his blood running cold. His friends chase after him, begging Bard not to go alone. A hooded figure crouches over a bleeding victim, laughing cruelly. Someone's leg is mangled on the ground, the painters mocked mercilessly. A companion grabs Bard, warning he's nothing to that body now. The masked man presses his gun against the captive's head, sneering. A shot rings out, blood spraying across the horrified group. A body lies motionless in a spreading pool of crimson. The group freezes. Someone actually killed a wall with just a gun. Masked Man's brother reports catching someone hiding in the sewers. He orders his men to watch the prisoners and finish them quickly. Bard lunges forward, but his friends tackle him, shouting for calm. Bard's grandfather kneels, battered, a gun aimed right at his head. The group restrains Bard, insisting rushing in will only make things worse. Garam's friend questions whether his explosive ability can even target selectively. Garam and Nabi share a tense, loaded silence between them. Purple energy crackles ominously around a blade power surging violently. The Marauders celebrate wildly, declaring the town belongs to them now. A futuristic weapon charges with violent purple energy. A hooded figure screams in shock. Something's gone terribly wrong. Gas-masked soldiers advance through rubble, sensing something unnatural nearby. Blue energy slashes through the air, catching one attacker off guard. The weapon clatters to the ground as its owner collapses. Remaining soldiers panic, cursing as they raise their guns. A new group emerges. Someone shouts. They are plant-powered enemies. Massive purple cannons materialize overhead, ordered to kill immediately. Purple blasts and blue vines collide in a devastating clash. The white-haired fighter's eyes glow with terrifying blue intensity. Enormous blue roots erupt skyward, shaking the entire battlefield. The blue-haired girl stares in disbelief. She recognizes something shocking. A heavy boot steps forward, cracking the ground beneath it. The white-haired fighter wipes his mouth, vines swirling around him. Soldiers panic, realizing they have been fed completely wrong intel. A blue slash tears through the air mid-sentence. Too fast to dodge. The purple-jacketed soldier stands frozen as energy explodes around him. Bodies litter the cracked ground. This fight ended brutally fast. The surviving soldier's eye widens, demanding to know what he is facing. Another soldier realizes their ally lied, then gets cut off mid-panic. The white-haired fighter slams a gas-masked soldier into the wall with brutal force. A massive blue energy blast erupts from his hand, shattering the ground. The soldier coughs blood, slumped against cracked concrete, his weapon discarded. His vision blurs, thinking he will die for nothing as his ally watches. Through a helmet's visor, the fighter is seen standing over another downed enemy. The dying soldier removes his helmet, muttering a final desperate threat. His face is revealed bloodied and twisted with a maniacal grin. A narration explains the parasitic flower reproduces by hosting humans. It turns infected humans into fire ears, endlessly regenerating, with a will to kill. Documents reveal the flames can be killed by destroying the flower's roots in the heart. Their bodies are protected by a black crust immune to normal weapons. Humans have developed methods to combat them, categorizing bugs by danger level. Grade 5 bugs are common, but Grade 3 and above are a serious threat. A Grade 3 bug is shown a hulking monstrous creature. The white-haired fighter stands ready as a dark bug-like creature emerges from the smoke. Fighter's eyes widen in shock, sensing a far greater power. A rank 3 fire demon materializes, its form a terrifying mass of antlers and teeth. The demon's massive curved antlers pulse with dark, ominous energy. It unleashes a devastating wave of black and red tendrils. The attack slams into the ground, causing a cataclysmic explosion of force. Monstrous entity rises, its tendrils lashing out as the ground shatters. Bard stumbles back, watching in horror as his grandfather collapses. He rushes over, cradling the injured man and shouting for him to wake up. A chilling presence makes him look up, his eyes widening in sheer terror. The creature looms its form, a twisted mass of shadow and malice. A cruel, echoing laugh cuts through the air as the being advances. The remaining raiders panic, screaming about a monster and begging to turn it off. One of them shouts to run, but it is already too late for some. A blinding, violent slash of energy tears through the street, claiming another victim. A raider clutches his wounds, groaning in agony on the cracked pavement. Another screams as dark vine-like tendrils violently ensnare him. He is lifted into the air, desperately yelling for someone to turn it off. The creature's appendage slams him down with brutal, unforgiving force. A raider's terrified face is seen moments before a tendril pierces through him. Bard watches, frozen in shock, as blood sprays across the ruined ground. He stares at his own hands, now stained with his grandfather's blood. The monstrous entity turns its gaze, its single eye fixing on Bard. A low, guttural sound emanates from it, vibrating with pure hatred. Bard realizes the horrifying truth. The creature is born from his grandfather's pain. The corruption spreads from the old man's wounds, twisting the very air around them. A monstrous spider-like creature drops from above its arrival, met with stunned disbelief. A terrified onlooker recognizes it, gasping about the rumored Grade 3 fire ears. His shock turns to horror as he realizes his companions have vanished. Garam is urgently questioned as massive blue vines erupt violently from the ground. Another character bursts through, demanding to know about a scream and checking on Garam. The team desperately tries to break the impossibly hard vines, their efforts futile. Blonde leader curses in frustration, his fist clenched at their helplessness. The creature attacks in a blur, its claws tearing through a soldier in a spray of blood. A close-up reveals the brutal, swift violence of the creature's assault. The creature stands amidst the carnage, a terrifying and dominant force. Garam shouts reassurance, determined to free his trapped friend from the vines. The gray-haired boy looks back in sudden wide-eyed alarm. Blue vines instinctively cross in a defensive barrier as the threat closes in. Garam holds the vines as the creature's red claws reach for him. He grimaces, sweating under the pressure, muttering yikes at the close call. With a yell, Garam punches the blue vines, trying to shatter them. A close-up shows his strained face and the effort behind the blow. The creature's claws slash through the air in a deadly red arc. Blue vines and red claws collide in a violent cracking clash. Garam looks up, shocked, as the root he is holding begins to bleed. The white-haired fighter's eyes widen in sheer shock as he witnesses the terrifying power before him. A monstrous, multi-eyed creature looms, its attack completely nullified by the fighter's own energy. A violent explosion of dark and blue energy erupts, shaking the very foundations of the battlefield. Massive blue vines surge forward with incredible speed, tearing through the environment. The fighter is lifted off his feet, caught in the overwhelming force of the counterattack. Monstrous entity is slammed into the ground, crushed under the weight of the blue energy. The white-haired fighter coughs, spitting blood, clearly battered, but still standing. A horrific tooth-filled maw opens wide, unleashing a torrent of red corrosive energy. The fighter looks up, his expression hardening as he sees the new deadly threat incoming. He grunts in pain, realizing the enemy has somehow launched another devastating assault. A colossal wave of blue energy crashes down, attempting to overwhelm the red attack. The two forces collide in a cataclysmic clash, shattering the ground beneath them. Fighter is caught in the crossfire, thrown back by the sheer concussive force. Blue vines wrap protectively around him, shielding him from the worst of the impact. Through the chaos, the fighter manages a grim, determined smirk. Now that we have hit the nail on the head, he mutters, a plan forming in his mind. It should work. He concludes, his resolve solidifying amidst the destruction. A massive, shadowy figure is suddenly hurled backward by a powerful blue strike. The fighter winces, hearing a chorus of agonized screams echoing from the creature. I need to get my shit together, he thinks, steeling himself for the final desperate move. The flower-mouthed creature clamps down hard, its teeth sinking into him. Something massive crashes into the ground, sending debris flying everywhere. The creature groans in agony, whispering that it hurts. Its skeletal form writhes, screaming again. This thing can actually feel pain. A character's eyes go wide, realizing something terrifying is happening. His eyes blaze white as he declares the creature just made a fatal mistake. A violent strike pierces straight through the monster's core. His expression hardens. No hesitation, no mercy left in him. A small pendant with a flower charm drifts downward through the smoke. The necklace tumbles through the air above the ruined buildings. Someone screams Garam as a massive energy eruption tears through the ground. The blonde leader stares upward, completely stunned by the explosion. Group watches as the massive roots suddenly begin sinking into the earth. He demands answers, then freezes. Something's approaching, and it sounds wrong. His face drains of color, sweat dripping as the sound grows louder. A dark, twisted creature emerges from the shadows with terrifying speed. Something moves impossibly fast. Blood sprays as someone shouts they are not sure. Two characters stare in horror, one trembling, the other furious. The blue-haired fighter and blonde leader lock eyes. Something massive is coming. A monstrous mole opens wide, its tendrils reaching for something on the ground. The building collapses violently as someone screams, "Not enough." A shocked blonde realizes the enemy is a terrifying third-grade fire demon. A massive explosion of red and black energy engulfs the street. A leader steps forward, ordering everyone back against the overwhelming threat. A terrified woman's eyes widen in recognition, gasping, "Bard, that is him." Two characters exchange a worried glance, both having heard the same ominous sound. A monstrous antlered creature emerges, described as a mountain over a mountain. The blonde leader suddenly shouts, "Huh? Wait!" Sensing an imminent attack. A figure is blasted backward by blue energy as someone spots their grandfather. The team rushes forward, the leader desperately calling out, "Bard, wait." Creature attacks again, its claws slashing as someone yells he is being mean again. The blonde leader's face twists in shock and confusion, uttering a stunned hung. Group stands frozen, staring into a blinding, overwhelming light. The leader and the blue-haired woman look on, utterly bewildered by the sudden shift. A small, familiar necklace glints on the dusty ground, catching someone's eye. The blonde picks it up, his brow furrowed, asking, "Why is this here?" A dark-haired man desperately tries to wake his unconscious grandfather, shouting his name. A massive, shadowy claw looms ominously over the kneeling pair from above. The man looks up, eyes wide with alarm, as he holds his grandfather close. His face hardens into a grim, determined smirk, muttering, "Hey, hey." The blue-haired lead unleashes a violent slash of purple energy. They yell at their ally to just run without looking back. The blonde fighter apologizes, stumbling away as red energy closes in. A massive, dark tendril slams down with a sickening suck. The lead stands, ready, purple energy swirling around their fist. A monstrous shadow descends, prompting a warning that this is not normal. A blinding explosion of light and force erupts in the street. The blonde fighter grimaces, shouting for Tori to get their grandpa. Their companion confirms the attack worked, asking if they said weaken. The lead explains the ability will not cut as deeply or last long. Blonde fighter mutters they need to cut deep to succeed. They strategize, wondering if cover will ensure a sure hit. The lead questions why rank 3 fire demons are suddenly attacking here. Narration highlights the anomaly of such a high-ranked demon in this town. Walking through the snow, they consider two possible explanations for its presence. The lead's eyes widen, realizing what the second explanation implies. They guess the local looters are responsible for creating the monster. The scene reveals a bloody cannibalistic crime scene inside a building. Lid reacts with horror, stating those guys cannibalize others. The blonde confirms it as a monstrous form looms overhead. Blue-haired fighter declares the situation messy, a sudden murderous intent flaring. They demand cover planning to imprint their power deep into the enemy. A massive dark tendril hurtles down the street toward the fighters. The tendril slams down with crushing force, debris flying everywhere. Blonde ally steps in a brilliant golden light erupting from his hand. The golden blast collides with the dark tendril in a blinding explosion. Impact creates a shockwave scattering dust and energy across the ruined street. The blue-haired fighter surges forward, cloaked in purple energy. They dive straight into the monstrous creature's gaping, tooth-filled maw. With a vicious grin, they shout, "Suck it!" While unleashing power inside, a violent purple explosion bursts from within the creature's form. The creature is torn apart from the inside, dark energy dissipating. Blonde ally smirks, praising the move with a casual way to go butterfly. He steps forward, golden light gathering around his boot with purpose. Inside him, he tells the others to leave the back to him, confidence radiating. A colossal sphere of golden energy forms above the street, humming with power. His eyes glow green as he names his technique, Bloom Flowering. The energy sphere erupts, unleashing a torrent of piercing golden beams. Beams bombard the remaining monstrous entity, searing it with relentless light. The blonde fighter recoils from the massive energy expenditure, staggering back. Blonde fighter stumbles back, clutching his chest as the last of his energy dissipates. A blinding column of light erupts where his attack landed, vaporizing the street. He grits his teeth, his eyes glowing with residual power as he braces himself. Another violent explosion rocks the area, sending debris flying. The shockwave clears, revealing the monstrous creature still standing, albeit damaged. Blue-haired Led dashes through the settling dust, looking concerned. They skid to a halt, their expression shifting to one of shocked realization. Bar, did I just look at the wrong thing?
They mutter, eyes wide.
The blonde fighter stands amidst the ruins, his posture tense. A thought bubble reveals his internal monologue about the lead's sudden immense power. He questions why someone with such ability remains in this shadowed town. Suddenly, a massive shadowy claw slams down from above, interrupting his thoughts. A new terrifying creature emerges from the smoke, its form dripping with dark energy. It lets out a guttural roar, its presence overwhelming the battlefield. The creature lunges with terrifying speed, its claws aimed at the fighters. Blonde fighter and the lead leap back just in time, avoiding the deadly strike. The creature's attack carves a deep gouge into the ground where they just stood. Not enough, the blonde fighter asks, his voice laced with grim amusement. He smirks, cracking his knuckles as he faces the new threat head-on. A close-up shows his determined, almost feral grin. Do not be so stubborn and die already. The monstrous creature staggers, reeling from the devastating golden bombardment. A final, desperate burst of dark energy erupts from its form. The blonde fighter and the lead stare, shocked by its resilience. Creature's energy implodes, shattering its own body in a violent flash. A shockwave of residual power blasts outward across the ruined street. The lead collapses to one knee, utterly spent from the battle. He looks up breathless as a voice whispers, "You succeeded." Garam's eyes snap open in terror, gasping for air. He scrambles up, panicking, shouting, "Where is he? Where is he? We have to save them." He yells, desperate to find his friends. A firm hand steadies him. "Calm down. Everyone's okay," Tori says. Garam blinks, recognizing her. "Tori." Relief floods his voice. The blonde leader and Charlotte approach. "Garam, are you awake?" Garam asks about his opponent. The leader smirks. "We handled him." An older man rests, reporting injuries but no major casualties this time. Outside, someone tells Garam to rest, praising his efforts tonight. Back inside, Garam sighs relieved. "I just had to push through." The leader asks what happened while Garam was trapped in the root. Garam explains the masked fighter removed his mask when outnumbered. He shudders, recalling the horrifying memory. "The flesh, it ate me." The silver-haired fighter wakes up disoriented, recalling the explosive escape. He sits up, explaining he pushed his roots out with all his might. The blonde leader enters, confirming Shallot's power caused that massive explosion. He reveals a nasty secret. A rank 3 fire demon's heart is elsewhere. The silver-haired lead is confused, asking if the creature should not just die. Leader explains the parasitic heart must be removed, like with the painter. He then drops a bombshell. The lead's final blow actually destroyed that heart. The leader hands over a familiar necklace, asking if it belongs to him. Lead gasps, recognizing the flower charm his brother left behind. He is relieved, explaining the string broke and he tied it temporarily. The group stands together as a new masked figure stirs in the foreground. Older man wakes, clutching his head and asking what happened. He recognizes the blonde, calling him the mop-headed townsman from this morning. The blonde confirms the marauders are dealt with and asks how he feels. Older man says he is not too bad and has a formal request. He reveals the town's purification plant is broken, endangering the entire city. The man panics, suddenly realizing Teddy is gone and shouting in alarm. He desperately asks the blonde if Bard is safe, his voice trembling. The scene shifts to the sterile headquarters of the enigmatic Weird Society. A pink-haired agent reports the public reaction to a released case is mostly positive. In a shadowy room, they discuss the fire demon threat. A gas-masked figure ambushes a young man from behind. A powerful blast tears through a group in the street. A blonde leader suggests using others to fight their battles. He asks about an investigation, but his companion is not worried. A pink-haired woman states she has already handled the problem. An older man with a mask reacts in shock. He urgently asks the blonde if Bard is alright. The blonde confirms Bard is safe, but mentions a destroyed plant. He states they need gold to repair the city's entrance. The older man confronts the group, asking if they will take it by force. Blonde leader clarifies they are here for a fair trade. The older man smirks, asking to set one condition. He begins his demand, wanting to give something to the residents. Then he asks for the right for everyone to emigrate to the city. The blonde leader looks stunned by the massive request. A close-up shows a clenched fist, emphasizing the difficulty. A flashback shows a barren, desperate landscape from last summer. A fallen figure lies in the dust, a victim of the harsh world. The older man explains there are few villagers left to save. Masked man pleads, asking if his request is unreasonable. The blonde leader stays silent, weighing the cost of this deal. He explains the city's strict rules. Outsiders need verification. The leader questions if they will truly protect the townspeople. A handshake seals their agreement, binding them to this promise. In the car, the blue-haired fighter sits lost in thought. A truck trails behind them through the night. He worries about his grandfather arriving in town soon. The truck approaches a massive structure as doubt creeps in. A woman carries the injured fighter to safety. Others fought too. Garam and that mysterious man. He realizes he barely knows his own grandfather. A white-haired man lies motionless on the ground. He presses against the glass, calling himself a coward. Villagers once hurled that same insult at someone else. He admits the truth. He was a coward. His grandfather saw something in him worth believing in. Be brave, his grandfather told him. Live fully. He despises himself for being so weak and insignificant. Days pass. They are reconnecting the cables now. The engineering club girl proudly announces her fix, earning praise from her friends. Her triumph turns to frustration as she discovers the device is broken again. Jin-Soo watches the bickering duo, amused by their chaotic dynamic. He notices Bard walking away alone, his usual quietness. Now concerning, Bard's slumped shoulders suggest something heavy weighs on his mind. Jin-Soo approaches, asking if Bard is okay, his tone gentle. Bard flinches away, violently shouting not to be touched, startling Jin-Soo. His outburst continues, eyes wide with a mix of anger and hurt. Bard storms off, accusing Jin-Soo of not understanding his struggle. He mutters about luck and denies having any special plant powers. Jin-Soo realizes Bard's resentment stems from being constantly compared. Bard sprints into the woods, yelling his frustration at the world. Jin-Soo calls after him, worry etched on his face. Bard trips over his own feet, tumbling through the underbrush. He crashes hard against a tree, crying out in pain and anger. Bard slams his fist into the bark, cursing his own weakness. Crouching by the tree, he blames Jin-Soo for his current state. A moment of clarity hits. Maybe it is not entirely Jin-Soo's fault. He admits to himself that his own inadequacy is the real issue. Jin-Soo watches from afar, unsure how to bridge the growing distance. The young man in green admits he may have overreacted to someone called Mr. A. He walks away through the woods, planning to apologize later, unaware of a hidden observer. A sudden blinding slash of purple energy cuts through the air toward him. He collapses against a tree, shocked, realizing he cannot feel his legs. A close-up shows a bloody wound on his leg as he weakly asks if Seo is mad. He looks up in pure panic as a shadowy hand reaches for him. A masked figure clamps a hand over his mouth, silencing his startled cry. The captor whispers grimly about selling him to the city of pleasure. Masked individual drags him through the dark forest, ordering him to follow. The scene shifts to a bustling neon-lit street in the city of pleasure. A blond man in a loud shirt complains about being summoned on a busy market day. He enters a lavish room, grinning as he announces his arrival to Dullahan. Next, he finds two associates already there, a blonde woman and a dark-haired man who seem annoyed. The woman questions why he is always at the pleasure city instead of his own association. He brushes off the complaint, and a shadowy chief welcomes him, asking the purpose of the visit. A pink-haired woman introduced as the ideal city's general manager states she has a special mission. The blonde man leans in, intrigued as the woman mentions a root-powered person recently found. His blonde associate smirks, vaguely recalling the target and asking if they should kill them. The manager sharply corrects her, emphasizing the target must be brought in alive. She adds a critical condition. The mission must remain secret even from their own city's leadership. The blonde character with green sunglasses leans in, addressing someone named Dullahan. Dawasian with pink hair looks back questioning if they are being asked to betray someone. The blonde smirks saying the Pleasure City might be a pawn, but this is crossing a line. A dark-haired character interjects mentioning the higher-ups have spoken. The blonde explains handling this task well means joining the ideal city. A shadowy elder silhouette appears stating their words are absolute. The blonde promises a smooth rise through the ranks if they comply. A close-up on Dawasian's intense yellow eyes, recalling their long-held desire to join. The blonde suggests this is their only chance given their current abilities. Blonde demands a final answer, yes or no. The dark-haired character stammers in panic, clearly terrified. Another blonde with a colorful shirt silences them, telling them to finish eating. The first blonde grins, focusing on the real target, that little kid. Dawasian smiles, faintly agreeing they just need to bring the target unharmed. The colorful shirted blonde Regio confirms they are joining the mission. Regio stands with a wide grin, ready to go. The scene shifts to a neon-lit alley in Pleasure City's lowest floor. A character in a green sweater looks around confused about a location. A taller man sighs, correcting them that it is the next alley over. Both characters suddenly scream, startled by an unseen threat. He spots a neon sign for an illegal fighting ring and grimaces at the grimy alley. The pink-haired one pauses, recognizing a voice from earlier as two figures approach. Newcomers gossip about a captured bottom-tier fighter being brought in for the ring. The duo exchanges a worried glance, realizing the captive might be someone they know. They sprint up the stairs, following the sounds of a roaring, violent crowd. The crowd below chants for blood as the pair rushes toward the source of the noise. Inside a cage, a confused captive stands opposite a hulking, shadowy creature. The captive looks around in panic, asking what happened and where he is. A monstrous Ignis creature snarls at him, demanding he fight as the crowd cheers. He curses, wondering how he ended up in this death match and who brought him here. A blonde man with sunglasses points a glowing gun at the captive's head, threatening him. The Ignis lunges, and the captive freezes, eyes wide with terror at the imminent attack. He barely dodges the creature's swipe, stumbling back as it presses the assault. The captive screams in fear as the Ignis looms over him, ready to strike again. Creature raises a clawed hand for a final blow, its eyes glowing with malice. A gunshot rings out, and the Ignis is blasted sideways, saving the captive at the last second. He scrambles on the floor, trying to understand where the next attack is coming from. The Ignis recovers, instantly a blur of motion as it charges again with terrifying speed. He realizes in horror that these people are using a real Ignis as entertainment. Pinned down, he struggles, admitting he has no idea what is happening, but knows he is in deadly trouble. A fighter declares survival as their only goal amidst chaos. The green-clad attacker strikes hard, helmet glowing with energy. Chains bind tightly, a face grimacing against the strain. A body is flung violently through the air. Bloodied legs stumble, leaving dark stains on the ground. The fighter's face is splattered, eyes burning with fury. He stands alone in the red-lit cage, shadows watching. Backstage, they critique the match, noting the missed heart strike. The blonde smirks, explaining he acquired a rare permit. He casually admits killing a persistent surface dweller. A hand grips the sheet, preparing for a reveal. With a flourish, he unveils the new face underneath. A foot stomps in frustration, cursing the unexpected outcome. Two carry the wrapped figure, panic etched on their faces by the car they plan to clean up the engineering city. The girl hesitantly asks to bring her robot drawings. A white-haired boy sprints, desperately calling Bard's name. The group gathers, confused by the sudden commotion. He gasps out the news. Bard has been taken. They react with shock, recalling the troublesome blue-haired kid. Jinsu searches desperately, admitting something felt wrong since noon. He found Bard's shoe and shell casings far from the city. The blue-haired woman recognizes those casings, connected to firearms killer. Blood stains the ground near the abandoned shoe. He has been taken. Jinsu's eyes burn with fury. He warned them not to leave Bard. The group assembles, quickly bickering but moving with urgent purpose. Jinsu thanks them, then assigns Dippy to travel with Charlotte. Charlotte's strength as a swine makes her the safer escort choice. Dippy questions the Pleasure City destination. Did not they say raiders took him? Charlotte explains, raiders usually ignore flying. They cannot be sold profitably. But Ideal City experiments on them, and Pleasure City traffics swine. Dippy finally understands the horrifying implications and rushes to catch up. Inside the car, Dippy confirms their grim destination with quiet dread. The driver grimaces. Of all places, they are heading into Pleasure City. A young passenger worries about Bard's gunshot wound, seeking reassurance. His face trembles with barely contained fear for his friend. Hands clench together tightly as he whispers Bard's name helplessly. 9 years ago, Edge City's leader welcomed frightened newcomers to the guild. A younger Charlotte promised to help them adjust, assigning rooms by tags. Young Bard cheerfully introduced himself from Dwitse village, breaking the tension. Two numbered strangers sit together, one noticing the other's discomfort. The friendly one apologizes for being too forward, offering patience. Blood seeps through the injured character's sleeve, hinting at something serious. The number 9 badge sits stained against bloodied fabric. Brown hooded character finally notices the blood falling silent. He grins, declaring they are family now, and she is his big sister. The injured one blinks confused by this sudden declaration. He explains family means surviving the same nightmare together. Meanwhile, someone screams in a nightmare, begging Bard to stay alive. A car approaches a damaged building under the night sky. The blue-haired fighter announces they are heading underground. She explains the old subway now serves as a city shortcut. The white-haired newcomer realizes underground passages exist even out here. Guards stand before a sealed gate power cut by the Isang Guild. They wonder if Pleasure City and Ideal City still connect secretly. Someone tries restoring power to get the trains moving again. Walking the dark tracks, she warns that communication only invites exploitation. Graffiti marks the wall. The ghost mark signals Pleasure City ahead. A bag drops as they prepare for infiltration. She questions his plan, warning his outfit, screams low-tier outsider. For a moment, she suggests disguising as vagrants. Pleasure City welcomes anyone desperate enough. He demands pink clothes. She insists dark ones blend better. They rush to change, grabbing masks for whatever's inside. He strips down, pulling on a yellow-black jacket. Suddenly, he bolts through the tunnel in his flashy new outfit. He whines about his loud clothes while theirs stay plain. Gas masks go on. They are sealing themselves in. She reminds them they are ordinary people now, masks stay put. They charge forward together, committed to the act. Scene shifts. Someone's furious about Jay coming along. He admits guilt over last time, acted on instinct. She snaps at him for making everything harder. There, she wants him gone. He calls her insane. Chaos erupts. Someone warns about getting caught, they struggle. A voice cuts through, commenting on all the noise. Green-haired, teeth-baring newcomer asks about sweet missions. He promises this job comes with zero risk. She realizes the worst person possible just arrived. He grins, repeating his question about easy missions. Her blood runs cold. This bastard showing up now changes everything. The pink-haired one finds a locked door, wondering if they should just break it down. They panic, yelling for everyone to stay close as the situation spirals. A brown-haired man demands to know their plan, his companion looking equally lost. The pink-haired one grins wildly, asking what they think should be done. They declare it is time for an emergency escape, powering up their ability. A flashy blonde man appears confused about being left out of the plan. He watches surprised as a swirling portal opens in the room. Inside him, he smirks, commenting on their cute side as the portal stabilizes. The scene shifts to the neon-lit entrance of Pleasure City, bustling with silhouettes. A clown-faced character explains non-Hawaiian must leave a gas mask as collateral to enter. They note outsiders treat this as a lifeline while the city glows ominously. A wide shot reveals the towering, vibrant heart of Pleasure City. A companion remarks it is cleaner than expected, but the clown-faced one stays silent. Another masked figure points out the kid knows nothing about the Pleasure District. The blue-haired clown warns you can never let your guard down here. They explain the city was built to preserve ancient culture, but the underground is a crime haven. Patrol robots monitor every corner, enforcing strict rules for entry. The robots use identification chips to filter out unauthorized individuals shown dragging a body. People in the city have chips implanted while visitors get temporary ID cards. The clown-faced one stresses that sneaking in without chips is incredibly dangerous. Blue-haired one confirms their 2-hour meeting time. The city stretches below cold and indifferent to their search. Blonde asks if Dee Dee can track Nabi's location. Dee Dee hesitates, then quietly confirms she can. She reveals a signal device that activates when they are close. The group splits up to find Bard first. 2 women acknowledge the plan with nervous determination. They sprint ahead while Blonde watches them disappear. Blonde realizes Garam's trapped in Pleasure City. Flashback hits. The electric plant ability saved him before. That attacker was definitely banned from Pleasure City. If Band's crew exposes them, everything falls apart. Blonde's priority shifts. Find Garam before they hook him. Someone races through the neon-lit streets alone. Clown's been searching an hour with zero traces. He wishes desperately for something to just appear. A strange sound echoes. Something's arriving. Pink petals suddenly drift down around the confused clown. He stares, bewildered by the impossible phenomenon. A massive explosion of petals erupts from thin air. The masked character gets smacked, demanding answer. Petal-like energy sweeps through, impossibly fast and graceful. A flower-decorated boot lands perfectly. Yippie's escape technique. Pink hair sticks the landing on someone celebrating loudly. She brags about carrying 3 people. Truly legendary genius material. The group gets launched through the air violently. Masked character spots. Someone familiar. Wait, Bard. One character mocks another's obsession with perfect landings. They embrace tightly, both relieved the other survived. Garam demands answers. Why did you disappear like that? He explains their bond simply. They are family now. The word family leaves one character completely stunned. Garam apologizes for meddling in things earlier today. He admits he acted without understanding the situation. The other character is confused. Why are you Apologizing, Garam starts explaining, clearly struggling with his emotions. He admits being overly sensitive and taking it out on them. The apology lands, leaving the masked character bewildered. One questions if the other even is barred head injury. The pink-haired one finds them adorable, but tension rises. Group questions their sudden arrival in the engineering district. The masked one is accused of killing people, but they defend their actions. Pink-haired one shouts they saved someone from suicide, insisting they did nothing wrong. A voice cheers them on, encouraging them to keep pushing forward. The brown-haired man looks uneasy, sensing something is off. They hear footsteps and panic, wondering if it is the psycho Rio. The brown-haired man grabs the pink-haired one, urging another escape attempt. Pink-haired one explains their incredible ability is only usable once a day. A shadowy figure with mechanical legs lands silently on the ground. A hooded patrol robot with a white mask appears, scanning the area. The group freezes as the robot looms, someone dismissing it as just a patrol. Pink-haired one relaxes, thinking it will pass by if left alone. The robot's eyes flash and a blade suddenly extends from its arm. Group is blasted backward by a powerful energy wave. The robot's visor displays a warning, unidentified entity detected. Brown-haired man and pink-haired one stare in shock at the robot's aggression. The two newcomers realize the group lacks identification chips, sealing their fate. More hooded robots surround them, one declaring initiating cleanup. A purple jacket is flung aside as the group scatters in panic. A robot raises its weapon, its red eye glowing as it prepares to fire. A dark, shadowy ability activates, successfully startling everyone nearby. A brown-haired man urgently shouts for everyone to retreat from the sudden threat. The group scrambles away as a massive pillar crashes down in the chaotic street. A blue-haired figure moves with blinding speed, leaving a streak of light behind. From above, one suggests splitting up to cover more ground in the search. The red-haired man agrees, reminding his partner to watch for the tracking signal. He points, decisively taking one direction for himself in the neon-lit district. Then he suddenly stops the blue-haired woman, a serious look on his face. He warns her to be careful, especially if she runs into the dangerous Bonnie. She acknowledges it is Bonnie's territory, but feels her disguise should keep her safe. As she turns to leave, something small and metallic slips from his sleeve. She notices the fallen object, offering to pick it up for him. He kneels, recognizing it as the special ability Knife Dee had made for him. Next, he holds it up, asking if she came here with another motive in mind. She grows defensive, demanding he speak up about what he is implying. For a moment, she confesses she does not know when they will meet again after this. He looks shocked, realizing her true purpose might not be finding Bard at all. Suddenly, he accuses her of coming to Pleasure City specifically to target Bonnie. She calls him by his name, Jinsu, her expression unreadable behind the mask. There, she questions if he could truly just walk past Bonnie given their shared bloody history. The blue-haired fighter erupts, screaming about what those guys did to them. Red-haired man listens, intently clutching his white mask. He claims to understand those boiling feelings completely. A violent flashback shows a green-haired figure amidst carnage. Another memory surfaces, a brutal fight with a monstrous entity. The red-haired man's eye widens, recalling how his blood boiled. He questions if revenge would even soothe that burning rage. A hand grips fabric tightly, the question hanging in the air. A haunting vision shows two silhouettes before a grotesque, twisted figure. He voices his true fear, losing someone else in the pursuit. The blue-haired fighter looks down, absorbing the heavy warning. Red-haired man apologizes for his earlier reckless behavior. He admits this conflict with Bonnie is his own personal burden. A painful memory flashes, a bloody arm, a tangled childhood feud. Another flashback reveals a younger, bloodied version of himself. He concludes this is a debt he alone must resolve. The blue-haired one apologizes, blaming their own selfishness for the hurt. Red-haired man stands silently, holding his mask, processing everything. He reaches out softly, saying Nabi, as if to make peace. A sudden massive explosion erupts from a nearby building, shattering the moment. A massive crash echoes as someone is slammed to the ground. The pink-haired fighter boasts about their remaining strength, grinning wildly. Their companion shoves them, furious, yelling about their reckless actions. They argue over destroying the city robot, each blaming the other. The sparking robot lies broken, its systems failing on the street. Brown-haired one explains the robots share data, sealing their fate. Their faces flash across city screens, now marked as dangerous targets. The blue-haired fighter panics, realizing their exposure is a death sentence. Green-jacketed one considers abandoning the group to save himself. A nearby door slides open, offering a potential escape route. The silver-haired character thinks he is safe, but he has lost Bard again. He is frustrated, having just reunited with them, only to lose them. Inside him, he spots the city screens broadcasting their faces, his shock palpable. The system flags him as an unidentified entity for immediate disposal. He regrets his panic, realizing running only made him more visible. Yeah. A horrifying realization hits. He lost his mask during the frantic escape. He decides to hide, knowing open spaces are now a death trap. Then he stumbles into someone in the dark, the collision startling him. He falls hard, wincing and apologizing for his clumsy mistake. A towering masked figure looms over him, casting a long shadow. The masked entity looms its presence, chilling the air. Silver-haired lead stares up, completely frozen in shock. They realize it is a patrol robot, but something feels off. Sitting on the ground, they debate whether to run. The robot raises a hand, its intent clearly hostile. Lead's eyes widen as they see the attack coming. A swift kick slams into the lead, sending them skidding. A pink-haired woman arrives, sharply questioning the robot's actions. She approaches, her expression cold as she assesses the civilian. Next, she demands to know how they found the hidden subway. The flustered lead stammers, claiming it was just an accident. Woman and robot exchange a glance, suspicious of the intruder. The lead tries to quietly slip away from the tense scene. Woman notices their unique hair, asking if they are from the city. The lead nervously denies it, standing awkwardly with the pair. Woman sighs, deciding it is a hassle to deal with them. She offers to show the lead the way out, much to their dread. Elsewhere, a voice points toward the source of a loud noise. A group examines a destroyed robot, noting signs of an explosion. They spot the wanted faces on a screen, realizing who caused it. The group quickly agrees to retrieve their lost companion's, relief in their voices. One reminds the other to carefully track the signal for Nabi and Jinsu. They decide to search the immediate area, assuming their friends did not get far. The cap-wearing one suddenly panics, remembering they also lack ID chips. Heavy footsteps approach, confirming someone's worst fears. A menacing voice asks if they need a hole too dripping with malice. The group tenses, sensing a runaway's terrified expression nearby. One character freezes, recognizing a voice they never expected to hear again. Charlotte is spotted, and the group wonders if she is approaching them. A familiar face emerges from the shadows, calling the encounter unexpected. The brown-haired man covers his mouth, a cold realization dawning on him. A green-haired man in a garish shirt smirks, asking for Charlotte. Three hooded figures sprint past, adding to the chaotic atmosphere. A blonde woman complains about the noise, already regretting her presence here. Someone desperately chases after Bonnie, shouting for her to wait. The chaser grabs Bonnie, pleading desperately to hear them out. Dark-haired character looks horrified, sensing something is terribly wrong. Bonnie stands still, her expression unreadable behind her bright sunglasses. A witness recalls the man's eyes, describing them as strangely powerful. Another confirms his eyes were glowing while he spoke to Bonnie. He recoils, remembering that awful familiar smell from the figure. A flashback shows Bonnie violently changing, grabbing someone by the collar. Back in the present, he mutters that this is all just weird crap now. The blonde woman shoves him, demanding to know who he thinks he is. She leans in close, coldly stating he is just a damn drug addict. Annoyed, she tells him to shut up while lighting a strange cigarette. He stammers her name, Bonnie, as a sharp light cuts through the air. She muses that once this is over, she will be part of the strange city anyway. A dark thought bubble appears as she asks herself if she should just kill him. He looks up in sheer terror, whispering her name again. She laughs, calling this whole thing just a game of being chased. With a sudden violent swing, she tells him to stop getting in her way. He collapses, weakly calling out as she walks away without looking back. Desperate, he scrambles after her, shouting for her not to go. He trips and falls hard, spilling the contents of his bag onto the street. His pills and vials scatter across the pavement, and he cries out in panic. On his hands and knees, he repeats that it will not work without it. His hands tremble over the ground as his vision blurs and fades. A ghostly, monstrous form begins to emerge from his collapsing body. A sinister, grinning face appears, remarking it has been a while since he saw that face. Green-haired Regio casually greets the brown-haired character, calling out to Charlotte. Charlotte and Dee Dee freeze, caught off guard by this unexpected arrival. Charlotte's eyes widen. She recognizes the strange city insignia on his clothing. Questions swirl through Charlotte's mind about what this connection could mean. Regio grins, trying to ease the tension with his usual charm. The brown-haired character sighs, clearly wanting space from Regio's antics. He pushes Regio back, needing to speak with Charlotte privately first. His expression softens as he checks if Charlotte is all right. He mentions meeting at the search site, referencing their past together. Regio interjects, asking to tag along, but gets brushed off. Charlotte urges Dee Dee to go ahead while she handles this situation. Dee Dee's device suddenly picks up an unexpected signal nearby. Dee Dee's excitement spikes. The butterfly they have been tracking is close. Charlotte bolts after Dee Dee, who is already racing toward the signal. Regio and the brown-haired character are left standing in tense silence. Recognition dawns on the brown-haired character. He knows exactly who Regio is. He is irritated, reminding Regio he is in the middle of something important. Regio laughs it off, claiming teasing people is just what he does. Regio's tone shifts. He has a real reason for being here. He drops a warning about the root ability user tracking the brown-haired character, pressing for details. The lead crumples the warning note in his fist, his knuckles white. He walks alone, the paper a heavy weight in his mind. For a moment he stares at the crumpled note, a cold dread settling in. A pink-haired woman from earlier appears, offering to guide him. She asks if he is with Yippie's team, catching him off guard. Suddenly, she pauses, reconsidering her question with a thoughtful hum. She dismisses it, saying it does not matter as her robot companion watches. The lead realizes not all marked ones are enemies, feeling a sliver of hope. She hands him a folded paper, telling him to take it. He asks if it is a flyer, confused by the sudden gift. His eyes widen in shock at the words the mark's demonstration event. The leaflet reveals a gun designed to permanently wound marked ones. A flashback shows the gun's brutal effect on a victim. She smiles, inviting him to try shooting a marked one himself. The lead connects the dots, realizing the strange city orchestrated this. She notes his reaction, asking if he already suspected their involvement. There, she checks the time, abruptly ending the conversation to leave. The lead shouts after her, horrified they are mass-producing weapons to kill. He stares at the leaflet, calling them all insane for smiling while doing it. Inside him, he resolves to warn everyone, but a smoky figure silently appears behind him. The silver-haired lead stands tense, surrounded by an unnatural creeping smoke. He suddenly feels his body seizing up, unable to move properly. A strange, acrid scent hits him. Cigarette smoke in this sealed place? A dark, smoky silhouette materializes from the haze, blocking his path. The figure steps forward, its voice dripping with cold accusation. A blonde woman in sunglasses emerges, glaring with palpable fury. Her hand crackles with energy as she condemns his insolence. The silver-haired lead's form begins to warp, smoke pouring from him. He declares his innocence, his voice now a distorted, smoky echo. A monstrous skeletal face forms within the smoke, identifying as Rochi. The blonde woman Bainey screams in rage, her power flaring. A blinding bolt of yellow lightning erupts from her towards him. The two forces collide in a cataclysmic explosion of smoke and light. Shockwave tears through the alley, shattering the quiet. The silver-haired lead watches, stunned as the light fades. City's lights flicker and die, plunging everything into sudden darkness. After a moment, the power surges back, confusing the populace below. Crowds gather, whispering about the strange blackout and the lightning. The pink-haired fighters group stares up, horrified by the display. They panic, realizing such open use of power could get them all killed. A warning cry echoes as a new threat emerges from the swirling smoke. The dark-haired lead whips around, eyes wide with sudden dawning recognition. Garam charges forward, fist glowing, yelling a name into the chaotic mist. Dark, smoky tendrils coalesce, forming a menacing skeletal shape. The monstrous entity fully forms, its hollow eyes fixing on a target. As it whispers a name, blonde woman with green glasses smirks, asking a confused Hun. The monster lunges, calling its opponent a coward and questioning their ability. Blonde woman clutches her side, feeling poison seep into her body from a previous wound. Her expression twists with resentment, complaining about always being nice and getting cruelty in return. The skeletal monster lets out a furious, echoing scream of pure rage. Blonde woman stands her ground, warning the creature not to squirm. She bares her teeth, electricity crackling around her as she refuses to just take the attack. A massive, blinding sphere of golden energy erupts above her, shaking the very air. The energy pillar slams down, engulfing the street in a devastating column of light. She moves in for the kill, declaring she will end the monster before it turns to smoke. The creature is blasted backward by the force, its form scattering into wisps. Blonde woman is sent tumbling through the air from the shockwave. She crashes hard onto the pavement, a pained grunt escaping her lips. Then she staggers up, confused, wondering when her opponent managed to move. The monster's hand suddenly clamps onto her face, its empty sockets staring as she lets out a cold, defiant chuckle. A blonde fighter crackles with energy, shouting in surprise. A figure plummets down a shaft, trailing smoke. The blonde lands hard, looking up with a start. She analyzes the opponent, noting the transformation's speed. The foe vanishes into smoke-shifting form instantly. A monstrous skeletal entity emerges, questioning their pairing. The blonde glares, accusing the team leader of sabotage. She clenches her fist, electricity surging in frustration. The entity grins, complimenting her partner's name, Danby. It mocks her, demanding an apology for weakness. A blast of golden energy erupts in response. Danby screams, refusing to apologize with furious defiance. The entity dismisses her, calling her an annoying bastard. Danby boasts, asking if it thought they were equals. The entity shrieks, telling her to stop it. Danby is suddenly grabbed by the throat, shocked. The smoke recedes as the entity stammers, yielding. A terrified young man is revealed, pleading he was wrong. He stares horrified at the words he just spoke. Danby bursts out laughing at the sudden reversal. The blinding energy from Danby's attack finally dissipates, leaving a scorched crater. Danby sprints forward, her expression fierce, yelling about hearing those exact words before. The young man lies defeated on the ground, smoke still curling from his form. A foot steps firmly onto the defeated man's chest, pinning him down. Danby channels crackling lightning through her foot, coldly ordering him to die. The young man and his companion lie motionless on the pavement, electricity fading. Danby smirks, questioning the point of comrades in their brutal world. Her smirk falters, a bead of sweat appearing as she senses something. She whips around, startled, as a new presence emerges from the smoke. A silver-haired person steps into view, their expression unreadable and cold. Danby's eyes widen in shock, her confident demeanor instantly vanishing. Three imposing figures stand together, their coats billowing as they confront her. The blue-haired person in the center narrows their eyes, whispering Danby. Blue-haired individual steps forward, their gaze locked intensely on Danby. Danby responds, her voice a mix of shock and recognition. Danbit's face hardens, a storm of old memories and fresh anger in their eyes. The scene abruptly shifts, text revealing this is a memory from 17 years ago. A massive fire engulfs a grand building in the ideal metropolis, thick smoke billowing. A futuristic security vessel hovers over the city, part of the new lockdown. Rows of children in hooded jackets sit silently on a transport, their faces hidden. The blue-haired lead recalls meeting someone no label could define. An arena announcement declares sparring for children with special abilities. An instructor orders everyone to their positions for the match. A blonde fighter looks confused, asking who their opponent is. The blue-haired lead walks toward the blonde, ready to fight. Blonde tenses up, bracing for the incoming attack. The blue-haired lead assesses their opponent with a thoughtful hum. He dismisses his weapon, claiming he will not need it for this level. A close-up shows his cold, determined expression before the strike. A blinding flash of light erupts from the sudden clash. The blonde's eye widens in shock at the overwhelming speed. Blue-haired lead lands a brutal, blood-drawing blow. Another devastating impact sends a shockwave through the arena. The blonde is pinned down, bleeding, and defeated on the floor. Blue-haired lead stands over him, complaining how tiring this is. A flashback shows him as an ignition with no ability, striking out. The injured blonde recalls yearning to be like his powerful opponent. He dreamed of becoming a strong ignition, acknowledged by everyone. Back in the present, the blue-haired lead walks away as someone calls out. The heavily bandaged blonde approaches nervously, trying to start a conversation. Blonde trainee confesses a desperate wish to become strong. The blue-haired prodigy coldly dismisses the trainee's admiration. Blonde spots something shocking, their expression turning to dread. The vast, unbridgeable gap between the strong and weak is starkly shown. An instructor announces this is the final brutal training for the powerless. The trainees learn they are being thrown into the deadly nest of no return. Nest is revealed as a nightmarish landscape of monstrous creatures. The instructor smiles cruelly, framing this slaughter as a final chance. Blonde's eyes widen in horror, remembering a past lifeline. Blood splatters across their face in a sudden violent moment. Chaos erupts as creatures tear through the trainees in a hellish scene. Distant figures watch the massacre unfold from a cliff above. The monstrous entities continue their relentless, brutal assault. Blonde stands alone, drenched in blood, amidst the fallen. A tearful, blood-streaked face curses their own helplessness. They recall how their only superiority was being luckier before. A terrifying, shadowy monster with glowing eyes lunges forward. The survivor is consumed by shadows, haunted by a fear of abandonment. A close-up reveals raw resentment and self-loathing in their eyes. They scream a desperate wish for power, just like their idol. A brutal column of yellow lightning crashes down, obliterating the street. The energy explodes outward, a blinding sphere of destructive force. Blast Center reveals a lone figure standing amidst the devastation. Debris and blood rain down skeletal remains, scattering across the wet ground. A leg is caught in the lingering electricity, muscles tearing from bone. Barney is on all fours, face bloodied, screaming in agonized defiance. A blue-haired man watches the scene with cold, analytical eyes. Barney clutching her side snarls about Legio's broken promise to finish this. Her expression twists in horrified realization, mentioning the bastard Legio. A gloved hand calmly crushes a small glowing device in its palm. The blue-haired man confirms her fears, calling her words nonsense. He states the cold truth. That day, Danby dies. A figure is blasted backward by a surge of purple energy. The fighter's legs give out, their communication device clattering to the floor. Blue-haired man pins Barney against a wall, accusing Legio of betrayal. A close-up reveals a piercing purple eye glowing with unnatural power. A dark shape lunges with incredible speed, a purple arc trailing behind. A red-haired ally shouts a desperate warning, seeing the imminent clash. Barney grits her teeth, electricity crackling as she prepares for a final stand. Two forces collide in a blinding flash of gold and purple light. The initial clash erupts, Danbit standing firm within the blinding light. A colossal explosion of energy engulfs the entire area. The smoke begins to clear, revealing the sheer scale of the devastation. Ground is left cracked and shattered from the force. Danby looks around, frantically shouting, "Where did she go?" Danbit reappears in a blur blade drawn, lunging straight at her. Danbit closes the distance, in an instant a trail of purple energy in her wake. She slashes wildly, screaming, "It is because of you that all my precious friends died." Danby grits her teeth, dodging the blade and muttering annoying. Danbit's hand glows with power, warning, "If even a single one of her abilities touches me." Her eyes are wide with a desperate fear. "I will not even be able to recover, and I will die." Danby leaps back as multiple purple energy blades slice through the air where she stood. Danbit's voice cuts through the chaos, mocking, "Your movements are as obvious as ever." Danby's expression hardens, lightning crackling violently around her. She unleashes a massive, blinding burst of golden lightning in retaliation. Danbit is caught directly in the heart of the devastating electrical storm. In a close call, Danbit's blade stops just inches from Danby's face. Danbit follows up with a powerful kick, sending Danby flying backward. The impact creates another violent, blinding explosion of light and energy. Standing amidst the fading lightning, Danbit looks down with cold contempt. How pathetic. Danby questions why she even climbed up here, electricity crackling around her. A memory surfaces of Danbit as a child wanting to look down on everyone. Danbit struggles against the purple energy, mocked for being weak after just a few attacks. The confrontation turns philosophical, questioning what a Danby who cannot even fly truly means. Danby falls silent, her expression unreadable behind her glasses. A flashback reveals Danbit's true power, the ability to perfectly copy any ability he witnesses. Scientists in a lab work desperately to replicate Danby's power without its debilitating side effects. The original Danby, now deemed useless, faded into obscurity and forgotten by everyone. Danbit recalls finding his idol living in squalor, a bitter disappointment. Danby confronts Danbit, questioning why he looks so happy now after everything. Danbit's smile is cold, accusing Danby of never showing him that genuine happiness. A bloody Danby snarls, refusing the idea he was looked down on for mere weakness. The cruel truth lands. Danbit looked down on him simply because of who he was. On his knees, Danby screams at the unfairness, demanding no one be happy alone. A vow is made amidst blue butterflies to crush everything that ruined Danby. Back in the present, Danby launches a furious lightning-wreathed assault. The attack connects a burst of green energy erupting from Danbit's neck. With tears in her eyes, Danby screams for him to die. A brutal, bloody impact tears through flesh in a violent spray. Ligio staggers back his arm, gushing blood from a horrific wound. The blonde fighter screams in raw fury, goggles cracking from the street. A red-haired ally powers up, declaring intent to purge the weak. He thanks Jinsu, standing over a defeated blue-haired opponent. A brutal kick lands, sending the blonde flying with a thunderous impact. A hand retrieves a shattered purple device, hinting at a cruel past. The blonde stands defiant, condemning those who live to hurt others. Purple energy drips like blood, a voice mocking a lifelong pathetic existence. She tells her opponent it is time to wake from their twisted dream. Smoke billows from the devastated street below the towering Ideal Society building. A pink-haired spectator asks Danby if they can see the fight. Her companion urges leaving the crowded arena, now feeling dangerously volatile. Two men in the crowd whisper, recognizing someone from a previous encounter. A group discusses capturing the targets, asking about potential rewards. The pink-haired duo realizes they have been spotted, panic setting in. They try to shoo the onlookers away, feigning innocence. A firm hand suddenly grabs someone's arm from behind. A dark-haired man finds his target, relief and tension in his voice. A cap-wearing figure is shocked to see Sister Tori here. He asks if Garam is with her, mentioning her current dangerous fight. The group is cornered, but a companion reveals a found escape route. A panicked ally urges everyone to flee the chaotic scene immediately. In the snow, Danbit stands over a kneeling Barney, reminding them of a deadly side effect. Purple energy pulses from a blade embedded in Barney's chest, spreading through their body. Danbit coldly states Barney will now slowly die, losing all their hard-won power. Barney desperately tries to pull the glowing sword out, shouting in denial. The weapon remains fixed, its energy flaring as Barney collapses onto the frozen ground. Danbit looks down, asking with icy calm who exactly is dying here. Barney grins, maniacally refusing to believe they will die while Danbit is still alive. A determined ally swears they will not perish until they have destroyed everything about Danbit. Another companion echoes the sentiment, their eyes filled with cold resolve. Barney eyes glowing vows to obliterate everything and everyone connected to Danbit. Danbit approaches the weakened Barney, addressing them by name with a heavy sigh. Danbit tells Barney their obsession was always with power itself, not with him, and to face facts. Barney screams at Danbit to shut up, lashing out at his careless words. Barney's defiant grin falters, their voice trailing off as weakness overtakes them. Barney collapses completely as their allies watch in shock. From a distance, Danbit turns his face away, a flicker of profound sadness crossing his features. A red-haired ally urges Nabi to escape now, before authorities arrive to clean up. The group begins to leave, with one checking if the injured Danbit can still walk. Barney lies motionless on the ground, a small device slipping from their grasp. A figure kneels over Barney's body, voice trembling as they call out. The survivor stumbles back, refusing to believe their friend is gone. A close-up on Barney's still form, blood pooling on the cold ground. The survivor's face twists in horrified, tearful shock. Blue-haired fighter turns away, blaming that girl for this. A fist clenches energy, crackling with a vow for vengeance. Through gritted teeth, they whisper Barney will forgive what comes next. A spectral, monstrous form erupts from them, named for their fallen friend. The blue-haired fighter stands, enveloped in the summoned vengeful energy. Their allies watch, stunned by the sudden dark transformation. The transformed fighter strikes, landing a brutal, bloody blow on the red-haired one. A skull-faced entity manifests behind them, screaming about everything being taken. A swift, violent motion cuts through the air with a sickening sound. The entity promises a far more painful end for its target. Blue-haired fighter is suddenly impaled, blood spraying in shock. Their expression shifts to pure confused disbelief at the betrayal. The red-haired ally screams, "Nabi," in alarm, rushing forward. He charges with furious determination, fist pulled back for a strike. A colossal explosion of white energy erupts from the impact. He follows through with a devastating slashing motion amidst the chaos. A terrifying skeletal specter emerges, taunting its victim to feel more pain. The ghostly entity intensifies its assault, demanding greater suffering. A red-haired fighter grins fiercely, declaring this will settle things for Barney. He charges directly into the heart of the spectral energy blast. His blue-haired ally, Nabi, is badly hurt and asks if she can recover. A silver-haired companion supports her, urgently stating they must stop Jinsu. Nabi watches Jinsu's overwhelming power, realizing he cannot be stopped. A flashback shows their team being utterly powerless against these attackers. The memory reveals the formidable group they faced, crackling with energy. Nabi in the past grips a glowing weapon, her resolve hardened by more than just Barney. Back to the Spectre, who recalls watching an ally vanish like smoke. A brutal purple energy blade pierces through someone, explaining their breakdown. The red-haired fighter realizes even a rematch now would be hopeless. He watches Jinzu being driven back, fearing his ally will fall too. The silver-haired man watches in horror, thinking Jinzu will be defeated. Red-haired fighter turns, facing the overwhelming power head-on. He is violently struck and sent hurtling through the air by a massive attack. The impact creates a devastating shockwave, cratering the ground. Silver-haired man kneels over his fallen friend, the spectral energy looming. He steels himself, thinking he must step up, but hesitates with a stammered. But a blonde-haired man tells Garam to hide his abilities from now on. Garam, looking confused, asks why the sudden change of heart. The blonde explains Garam's ability draws too much unwanted attention. A flashback shows massive roots erupting from the ground, creating a huge, obvious barrier. The wide-scale destruction makes it easy for enemies to spot them. Blonde warns that if the other side of the city learns about this power, it could cause serious trouble. Garam listens intently, realizing the potential danger to their entire group. The blonde stresses they must avoid unnecessary fights and only use the ability under his direct orders. A close-up of his intense green eyes underscores the gravity of the warning. Suddenly, thick, swirling smoke engulfs the area, signaling a new threat. A red-haired man stands amidst the smoke, chuckling menacingly. Two smoky, skeletal hands form, mocking, "Is that your best?" A terrifying smoky skull face looms forward with hollow eyes. The attacker is revealed, his ability identified as Cigarette, which emits paralyzing smoke. Red-haired fighter scoffs, unimpressed by the smoky display. He clenches his fist, dark energy gathering, as he warns his opponent to be nervous. With a powerful surge, he lunges forward, his arm transforming with dark, jagged energy. A heavy boot stomps down, cracking the ground with impact. The red-haired fighter recalls their last encounter, noting the smoke made it hard to track attacks. His gaze locks onto a distinctive red-spiked collar around his opponent's neck, recognizing it instantly. The smoke suddenly funnels, gathering at a specific necklace. Red-haired fighter kneels, realizing what that means. A determined grin spreads, he can now roughly pinpoint his location. The smoky skeleton laughs, saying, "Physical damage is useless." His arm surges with crackling red energy veins glowing. He focuses, muttering about finding his other weakness. The skeleton taunts, asking when it should get nervous. Its face twists, red eyes glaring, turning the question back. The fighter launches himself downward in a blur. He crashes through the smoke with a powerful dive. A voice scoffs, "Do not you guys ever learn?" The attack is dismissed as useless against him. Skeleton's face contorts in sudden, furious shock. The fighter's boot lands near a fallen blonde figure. Skeleton stammers, "Wait a moment." It screams in panic as the fighter rushes toward Danby. The red-haired man's eyes narrow, seeing his definite weakness. Using Danby as bait created this one opportunity. The skeleton lunges forward, shrieking, "Do not touch her." With a final devastating strike, he lands a critical blow. The brutal impact sends a spray of blood into the air. Smoky figure crumples, dropping hard onto the fractured ground. The red-haired fighter lands in a crater, smoke swirling around him. He clutches his chest, confused, saying the impact felt strangely off. A bead of sweat rolls down his face. It felt like hitting smoke. A pale hand emerges from the shadows, fingers twitching slightly. The smoke user, collar intact, looks down with a faint, knowing smirk. He sits up, acknowledging the promise about finding his weakness was kept. The red-haired fighter stares, shocked, as smoke gathers ominously above. His eyes widen in dawning horror, still not understanding the trick. Thick smoke suddenly engulfs him, and he shouts in alarm. He looks down, panicked, as his arm refuses to obey him. The skeletal form looms, chuckling about the slow, creeping nature of nicotine. Dark shadows crawl up the paralyzed fighter's legs from the ground. The voice explains it is not the body, but the mind it targets first. Smoky entity floats above, taunting him for making a fool of himself. The fighter's eyes dart wildly, asking when this paralysis even began. Spectre appears directly behind him, whispering about his coffee tree weakness. A terrifying grinning skull face fills the view, red eyes glowing intensely. It leans in close, declaring with finality that this has been fun.